ships and shit, right?
Yeah.
Have you ever
I went on a
experienced
cruise ship when
Earth
I was a kid.
other than a level stationary plane?
What a level station? What does that mean?
I'm pretty sure it's self-explanatory. Level stationary plane. When you're on Earth, you walk across it. You walk in a straight line. When you're on an airplane, you go in a straight line from one airport to another. When you go from a ship, you travel from one port to another. They just travel from port to port. Level stationary
there's directions.
plane.
It's not just a straight line.
Really? What's the difference? Which direction are you going if you're going from one airport to another?
Well, sometimes you got to change the direction because of like turbulence and stuff.
Really? But when you plan a flight, aren't you going from one airport to another?
Yes, sir.
All right. So what if the pilot, when you jumped on the airplane, is just we're gonna we don't know where we're gonna land, but trust me, we're gonna land somewhere. Would you ever trust that pilot? He knows where he's going when he leaves from one airport to another. He knows where he's going to land.
What is the point here?
Really, what's the point?
Why not? I'm curious.
Yeah, I mean, you think they're flying over a globe when they use an airplane?
They're not flying over the globe. No, they're not going out of space. They're going I think it's 34,000 feet up in the sky.
And so they maintain altitude until they land at another port.
Well, it's not 34,000 all the time. Sometimes they have to drop. And,
it depends on the airplane. I mean, if you're on a Cessna or whatever, it's like 15,000. It depends on which airplane you're flying in. But they always just fly over land. They have a flight plan. They go from one airport to another. If you're going to say no, if you say no, then
okay.
Are you saying that because the plane doesn't go out of space, that the Earth is flat?
No, dude. Listen.
Bro, I'm just telling you that they're just traveling in a straight line from one point to another.
Yes. Okay.
All right. So if you're traveling 700 miles in a straight line, is that curved?
Well, you're in the air. There's no need to curve down or anything. The sky. Oh, wait. I think I know what you're talking about. Hold up. So you're saying when we go on a plane from one place to another, that's flat because the plane doesn't go on a...
There's no flat curve. There's no such thing. That's traveling from one airport to another in a straight line. That's a straight line. It's not curved.
So the gyroscope doesn't deviate, right, when you fly from Australia to the United States. It's still showing a level horizon, right? The thing about this gyroscope, the nature of the gyroscope is no matter what the plane does, they even use these in fighter jets, when they use evasive actions, diverting missiles and gunfire and that sort of thing. No matter what they do, the artificial horizon is going to show them where the actual horizon is, even if they're flying in clouds, right? That's what that instrument's meant to do. It's supposed to stay rigid in space. So when you fly all the way or halfway around the world, how come that artificial horizon doesn't stay rigid? In other words, it should be upside down by the time you fly halfway around the world.
Artificial horizon.
All right, see, artificial horizon, by definition, it's a flight term, right? The artificial horizon is created by the gyroscope so that the pilot can maintain level flight. It's a term that they use when they use the instrument panel. Artificial horizon, I mean, it's not the actual horizon. It's just so that they can maintain level flight over long distances. It has nothing to do with curvature of Earth at all.
Okay.
I mean, look it up. If you think I'm wrong, go ahead and look it
up. But as you fly halfway around the Earth, right, your plane's literally upside down, kind of like the Australian cereal bowl.
Or you're just like, if you go 700 to 1,000 miles, it's just like, are you just flying over the curve of Earth? No, I mean the artificial horizon, the plane, itself, the instrument panel, everything, all the instrument panel that the pilot uses. These are they're based on the gyroscope and the air pressure and shit. You know, they know the altitude by the air pressure, right? So they're just traversing Earth on a level flight. Not
So what he's
flying
saying
over
is when you're
alone.
flying a plane, you're not dipping the nose down and descending at 8 inches per mile squared, which you would have to do to maintain this altitude. If you were traveling at 500, whatever miles an hour, that would be a pretty good descent, 8 inches per mile squared. So you would constantly be going down. And the thing about the vestigial apparatus in our inner ear, we can sense motion really easily, right? So we can tell if we're ascending or descending in a plane. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, because you get your ears go blocked.
Not only that, the proprioception that the inner ear provides is really of high quality. Like you can tell your orientation, you can tell if you're going up or down. Like you can really feel what your body's doing. You know what your body's doing on an elevator, and that's a very slow descent, right? So imagine an elevator, but instead of 2 or 3 feet per second, we're talking about like if you're going 500 miles an hour, so that's 8 inches per mile squared. So you'd have to be dipping the nose down to fly around the ball. Kind of think about like a ruler on top of a basketball. You'd have to dip the nose down to where it says 1 inch. That would have to be facing down as you go around the ball, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we don't observe any of this in flight. So that's the curvature. The next claim is that the Earth is spinning. So Neil deGrasse Tyson has said that games have been won and lost in football, talking about kicking a field goal. When they kick the field goal, the Coriolis effect affects the football, apparently, right? Because the Earth is moving underneath the football, and they say that it moves under snipers' bullets. But if that were true, wouldn't I be able to take a hot air balloon, crack some water, fill my balloon full of hydrogen, go up in California, and 3 hours later, wouldn't I land in North Carolina on the other side of the United States if the Earth is spinning at 700 or 800 miles an hour underneath the hot air balloon? But that doesn't happen. But what they tell you is, hey, look at this, and this is the pendulum, right? This is what I've used to hypnotize people in the past. Look at this pendulum, right? Foucault has a pendulum, and we know for certain that the reason the deviation happens in the pendulum, it's not because of the apparatus at the joint where it's connected to the ceiling. It's a mechanical device designed by men. No, we know that it's because the Earth is spinning underneath Foucault's pendulum, and that's why it deviates 15 degrees an hour. How do you know that? How do we know? How would you verify that if that is true? How would you find out?
I don't know, man. Does the flat Earth spin?
No, the Earth doesn't move,
No.
brother. So remember, we're coming from a cosmology, Earth in space. So you can't plug the flat Earth into that. So just want to make sure you know that. I know it's common for people to think that the Earth is a cone in space or a magic carpet or some sort of pizza or something like that. That's been put out there to make it look silly. Okay, so just know that that's not flat Earth. It doesn't move, doesn't spin, doesn't
So
fly
how does
upwards.
night and day work?
Well, that's easy. You just go outside, right? And you see, just like you see a plane flying across the sky, you see the sun moving across the sky. You don't see planes and think that they're hovering and you're moving. So why would you think
Does
when
it
you see
go?
the
Does
sun
the
moving?
sun go under us?
Why would that happen? Right? It's just called a sunset. It doesn't actually go down. The sun's above your head moving. That's what you observe.
But how does it? Because
Right.
if we didn't move, then sun was constantly above our head. Wouldn't it just always be day?
Well, no, because we don't live in outer space, right? The sun's not 93 million miles away and 50 million times bigger than the Earth or whatever they say it is. What do you see? You see the sun. It doesn't look that big. It doesn't look that far. So no, it doesn't have to be shining up the whole Earth. That's not what happens.
So what's it sort of how do I explain it? What's
Let
its
me, let me
rotation
elaborate.
like?
Let me elaborate. So you're basically asking how to sunset. So can't provide the water.
Hank, you sound like you're kind of far away from the mic, Hank.
Yeah, I can't really hear.
Sorry about that. Let me change microphones.
Right.
Okay, so what you can't do is you can't like mix the cosmologies together because that's going to make like a Frankenstein version of the cosmologies. So you have to understand that there's this thing called the inverse square law, right? And the further you get away from light, right, the less intense it is, right? So this is something you have to understand. Every time you double the distance, the intensity of the light or the radio signal, et cetera, right, it drops 4 times the intensity. So the sun is a lot closer, the way that we understand it, and it's a lot smaller, is the way we understand it. Now, we don't know this for sure, but we're thinking this is how it works, right? So if you have a spotlight effect, like your cell phone, you're walking around clockwise in your backyard along the fence. Well, the light from your cell phone can light up part of the backyard while the other part is in darkness. And then when you get around to the other side, then it's lit up. So what we think is that the sun is going exactly 24 hours a day to make a circuit over the Earth. A circuit just basically means a loop, right?
So
Or an
it goes
orbit. Those are
around the Earth,
right
Above your head. Above your head.
above your head.
but it goes in a circle from around the Earth.
Right.
Does
And
it
I'm
feel
gonna
like
post
above you?
and I'm gonna post some stuff where you can kind of see how an object will disappear in the horizon because we know that the atmosphere acts like a lens. Even the anti-flat earthers, they're always talking about refraction. So refracting is lens-like behavior, light acting like it's going through a lens. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why they try to disagree with this when I'm looking for it. I bet someone else could post it if they could find it before me, but I'm looking for it. It's basically like the drone. You got a drone above your head. It's a limit ceiling of 400 feet in America. So let's say you got the drone above your head and you just fly it off due west. So it's going west. Like eventually it's going to appear to disappear in the horizon. That's as far as you can see, right? Then you could pull out your binoculars or whatever and find it again, right? But eventually, if you keep going west, it's going to disappear off into the horizon again. Well, that's basically what the sun is doing, except for there's atmospheric magnification. Now, this is really important to understand, but like when you zoom in, let's say on a cowboy's belt buckle to read it, right? You're going to see that basically, thank you, you're going to see that you can't see the cowboy's boots anymore. And that's what's exactly what's happened to the sun. When the atmosphere magnifies the sun, it's going to make the bottom disappear first. And this is kind of a difficult concept to realize. But if you think about it, if you're looking across Chicago, or you're looking across Lake Michigan, and you're looking at Chicago, the street view is going to have a very, very small angle between, let's say, the street lamps. I'm posting that GIF now. The street lamps and the ground or the water, right? It's a very small angle. But the angle between the street lamps and the sky is actually a very large angle. You know, what is it, like 45 plus degrees? Right? So if you look
Mm-hmm.
at what I post and what other people are posting here, Trace got my back already. Thanks, Trace. You can see how things can disappear like the sun, moon, and stars, even though they actually never go below your eye. Does it
Okay.
make sense? Does that answer your question? So
Yes.
there's a lot of questions like this that we can't explain, like what is the sun made out of? Like we never took a biopsy. We don't know what the sun's made out of. They say it's made out of hydrogen and helium, but have they taken a biopsy? No. Only
I don't
North
think it's
Korea said
possible
that
to take
they've.
a biopsy off of it.
Well, North Korea said they went to the sun at night, so I'm sure their
That makes
space
no
program is
sense.
legit. Yeah, I know, right? Well, North Korea, they're brainwashed more to where they believe in anything. Kind of like America's getting. It's getting real bad to where we don't know what a W is. But anyway, I digress. Yeah, it's when people start to believe in 2 plus 2 equals 5, then you can make them believe anything. like North Korea's space program walked on the sun. So that makes them better than, the United States who walked on the moon. But anyway, yeah.
I have one more question
Especially,
that a lot of people probably ask. I'd like an explanation I can understand. Where does the water on Earth go? Like, does it just drip off, or
Remember,
is there
here, let me just remind you again. It's not that disc that they're showing you. You keep asking us questions.
Sorry. What does it look
around...
like then? Because I don't quite have an idea of what.
Well, that's fine. That's fine. Well,
What you guys are imagining?
You don't really have to imagine anything in your head. We just can't get that perspective like you would get the perspective of a puppet on your hand. So if you keep asking us, well, so what's it look like from the outside? Well, dude, you can't leave and turn around and look back.
So you can't leave Earth.
We're inside of a closed system, and we can teach you why, but we're inside of a closed system. So there's no like leaving, and it's shaped like this. We can't do that. But I would also ask you, like, what is the shape of a lake? Right? I wouldn't say that's a particular shape that I can ascribe a name to. It has a shape, yes. The water, it's being contained by the land around it, yes. We're just talking about the surface of that water. It's flat. Unless you've seen some hills of water somewhere. I don't see that. Not in a cup, not in a pool, not in a pond or a lake. So why would that happen at the ocean? So we're just saying the water's flat. Not the earth. There's hills and stuff, of course. We're talking about the water. So we don't know what shape it is. Flat is not a shape. It's not a disc or a cone or any of these things. Magic pizza. We're just talking about the water. And if you want to learn about why we're inside of a closed system, we can definitely talk about that if you want to.
So what do you mean by closed system? As in, it's something we're in and we can't get out of Earth? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, and the argument is about gas pressure. So let me give you an example of gas pressure with a container. So I'm looking at my car right now.
Yep.
So I've got about 30 psi inside of my wheels. You get that pressure because you have the container, the tire to contain it. Now, if I take a knife, slash the tire, that psi is going to move from the higher pressure area to a lower pressure area here outside. So that is what we would call entropy, the second law of thermodynamics. Higher pressure moves to a lower pressure area. It's the container that contains the gas pressure. Now, we would ask, is there any demonstration of gas pressure without a container?
No.
I would agree. So then what's the next step here is like, okay, so the air that we breathe would also then need some sort of containment to have the pressure that we have. So I can't, unfortunately, like if we were going to have steak tonight for dinner, you come over, I can't show you the cow that this steak came from. I don't know the name. I don't know what color or any of this stuff. I just know that steak that we're having had to have come from a cow. So in the same way that we have this gas pressure here, it has to have come from some sort of containment. I can't show you this container. I have no means of doing that. But we also don't have a reason to think that gas pressure can exist without a container, unless we could see some sort of demonstration. So I'm open to that, but we would need to see that to believe it. So and maybe that's some homework you can take with you when you leave. Can I find or think of any demonstrations of gas pressure without a container? And of course, the air outside is the thing that we're trying to prove. So we can't use that as the proof, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, some people will do that. They'll just go outside and point to the sky and we'll see, that's it. It's not being contained. Well, that's what you're trying to prove. That's the claim on the table. So yeah, I would say that every example that I can think of, gas pressure requires some sort of containment. So let's logically, you could infer that that's happening outside as well. It's probably the toughest pill to swallow, in my opinion. Go ahead.
Sorry, bud. this claim, it's not like a just so story you made up. It's not a theory that we're theorizing, right? That gas pressure needs a container. It's like the law of thermodynamics, the second law, entropy, right? Hot always goes to cold, high pressure, low pressure, high charge, low pressure. Like every time, no matter what. You get a hot cup of coffee, like you get a phone call, you come back later, you'll find that all the heat energy has dissipated.
Your mic's messing up again.
Yeah, a little choppy there, Hank. But I'll just, while he's reconnecting, I'll just add that this is probably one of the most tough pills to swallow because I was into space a lot. I'm sure you are into space. You think it's cool, Elon Musk, all that stuff. It is very cool. It's a great theme. But it sort of takes that away, and people don't really like it. It's a very tough pill to swallow. So
okay, wait. I got another question that sorry, these are just random things that are popping in my head. Where did that asteroid that like hit the dinosaurs from?
That's a alleged story.
Were you there? Did you see that?
No.
Did you document that event? You got a video of it?
There like a crater somewhere in Mexico. I forgot it was from Mexico.
Well, there's stuff on the Earth, and then there's people telling stories about how it got there.
That's probably the most funniest thing, though. They say there's an asteroid big enough to kill almost all life on Earth, yet there's no mark on it. Like when you look at the moon, they say, "Oh yeah, there's asteroids that hit that," and yet there's none on Earth. There's no asteroids anywhere that has big enough to so-called destroy.
Wasn't there
almost all
literally
life
a
on Earth.
video of an asteroid hitting Earth in Russia or something, or Ukraine?
Yeah, if you notice, that thing detonated before it hit the Earth, so it didn't technically hit the Earth. It exploded, and everybody who was watching it through the glass window, through their cars, through their house, they got glass in the eyes because it was detonated. So I guess maybe you believe that, humans are so awesome that, Bruce Willis went up there and left his daughter behind and everybody else and blew the shit up after they planted a nuke 18 miles down below the iron core surface. Or maybe, it was just a military event, right? Where they want you to believe in asteroids. So they blew up a little, firework, right, over Russia. You can believe whatever you like. I don't care. It doesn't matter
So
to me.
asteroids don't exist?
Well, remember, if
Have you
you're
ever
inside of a closed system, there's no outer space, then where would these, what, like, is the story that they're telling, how could that possibly be true?
So so there's no outer space, so we're just in nothing.
We're enclosed.
The Earth doesn't exist in another place. I would say the Earth is the place.
Yeah, so the sky, it's not an outer space vacuum. We're enclosed here. The whole story.
So the sun is in our atmosphere.
That we do not know.
We don't know.
When we start asking about things in the sky, that's where it gets like interesting. This is like, what is the sun even? And do you know? How would we know that?
So it's a big
If we're
fireball.
standing, well, that's what they're telling us. Remember, if we're standing out here shoulder to shoulder looking up at the sun, I go, bro, what is that? And you look at me and you're like, start telling me stories, I'm going to laugh at you. I mean, we don't know what that is. We're just looking at something in the sky.
Do we have a sample from the sun that we can test? Like, where is it? What's causing it? Is it some sort of an apparent phenomenon? Is it an objective?
Isn't that where the Big Bang theory comes into account with like, where did it come from? But then you could say, where did the Big Bang come from?
If that happened,
Big
remember,
Bang
it's
theory
just
ultimately
theory.
makes no sense though. Like, so nothing made everything come into place. There's no cause for it to begin, like the explosion that caused everything to happen, which really is unscientific in itself.
In that Big Bang story, what are they saying happened? They're saying that the vacuum of space had a bunch of balls forming in it due to gravity, right? And the Earth is supposed to be one of those. The sun is supposed to be one of those, right? But we go out to measure curvature of the Earth. We don't find any. Gas pressure always requires containment. So you can't have an adjacent outer space vacuum to this high pressure system on the Earth because that would violate the second law of thermodynamics. Unless somebody can demonstrate, say, some lumpy gas in a vacuum, maybe use some gravity to get some balls of gas to form in a vacuum and demonstrate that can even be done. But nobody's ever done that. They just tell us a story and then they say, well, we wouldn't be able to demonstrate it because it only happens on scales that are too large to demonstrate on. So
Now
You're
that
not.
makes
You're
You're
not
also
far
basically in
off.
a religion at that point when you believe the Earth is a circle without any real proof, without being able to prove it yourself. You're putting a lot of faith into it. Same with believing if you believe in the Big Bang and evolution, all these stuff that are mainstream beliefs.
Do you not believe in evolution?
I
It
don't
begs the
believe in it
question.
because I have never seen it. I
I
don't think
used
there's any
to.
proof for it.
But you ask these
Same with
questions, do
the
we
Big Bang.
believe? Like, it's as if it's something that we
Well, to
have
me,
to believe in.
evolution just makes sense.
Okay,
Why
but let's put
why
it this
do
way,
people?
though. Hold on. Let's put it this way. Would you ask me, do you believe in your height of 6 feet? Do you believe in that? You wouldn't phrase it that way because that's just something that's objective and factual. You can measure it. It's empirical. You know it, right? You wouldn't bring it up that way, right? So even just asking the question that way suggests that it is just a belief. It is something that you just have to take on faith, that you can't know it. So in that case, no, I don't. If I have to believe it, I
The
don't.
evidence to me is okay. So why do you think, for example, African people tend to have, darker skin and larger nostrils and stuff like that? Like, what comes to mind for you? Because to me,
Well,
it's
let me
because of
just
the
say this,
humidity and the
Danny.
sun. They need to have darker melanin or more melanin in order to be able to be more resistant to the
See,
sun and not get
I
skin
believe our
cancer.
bodies can adapt. Okay, but that's not evolution. That's a lot different than evolution. I believe our bodies adapt, and when you actually look at it, our bodies adapt a lot faster than what evolution says. Because evolution says we slowly, like, evolve over millions and millions of years, which that doesn't
Correct.
happen. It does not take that long. It literally, it depends what it is, but yeah, we do have adaptation. Like people who are in the snow and grow up there are a lot more. They can handle the cold a lot more, and even people who had trauma in their life, they can handle pain a lot more. That's another example.
So you're not
Uh,
saying that they evolved to sort
I
of
don't think they
adapt to their
evolved.
surroundings?
Like I personally think that, yeah, I don't think they evolved. I personally think that's just our bodies adapting.
Which is, it's evolving.
Well, there's a couple things we should
What's
know
the-
here quickly,
You know-
Benny.
No,
Because there's
evolution is
micro
you constantly
and
get better. I mean,
macro.
evolution makes no sense because if we did come from monkeys, we actually devolved in a lot of senses. We
Well,
lost our hair, which is protection, where there's no reason why we'd lose it. We also lost most of our strength, like a huge lot of strength. And the only way for that to happen in evolution is to literally not use our muscles for millions and millions of years for us to
yeah,
lose that much, which just makes no sense in itself.
that hits on an important point. The millions and millions of years, the globe time scale has gone out the window because the globe went out the window.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
and when you look
and I
at the
also
modern
just want to.
history, sorry to cut in, but if you look at the modern history, you look at it, it's like billions of years, and then like there's like a couple 1,000 years which we know about, like which is like really the
Which is
real
recorded
history, if you want to
history.
call that. Yeah, like the real history is own. Like Earth is probably only about like I would say a minimum of thousands of years old. Definitely
You're saying the
not
Earth is only
billions.
Okay.
That's
Well, what
my
is the Earth?
I just wanted to highlight a couple things because there's a difference between macro and micro evolution. What we're talking about is macro evolution, which is tied to what Central is saying, the story of the globe, which is millions and millions of years old, which is also tied to a big bang exploding, and then we evolved from fish and rocks and all this stuff. That's what we're talking about. That's the story. Okay. So micro evolution, things evolving and adapting and changing, that's fine. So we just want to make sure you understand that the macro evolution that you evolved from dinosaurs and stuff, that's tied to the whole outer space narrative, which we can debunk. So that's what we mean. And also, I just want to finish with this. Of course, it makes sense, man. Like stories are meant to check out. Harry Potter, Dragon Ball Z, it makes sense, but it's a story. It's meant to make sense. So
Also, they made it. They
Tomato
also
said
this,
that
they
we
didn't just make
evolved
this
from
theory.
apes. That's not true.
We know that's what we're trying to tell
when it
you.
comes to
But that's what they
evolution,
told us when we were children. You're going to
no.
tell us about the common ancestor, right? And we're related to bananas. Right. We know.
We'd
The
had
story has
different
changed
evolutionary
since we were
paths.
children. Right. We know.
That's just people. That's
You know.
just a big
Have changed their
misconception.
theories a
People are
lot,
like, oh yeah,
actually.
we look like monkeys. We must have been like from monkeys, which isn't the case.
I'm not trying to be arrogant, bro, but we know this argument on both sides really well. Listen, I'm trying to tell you something that you can actually use, okay? So there's this thing called epigenetics. Epigenetics, or genetic expression. So one plant can create all these different types of vegetables. So I'm going to list as many as I can remember. Cabbage, Brussels sprouts, broccoli, cauliflower. Like all these came from the same plant with different genetic expression. So it turns out we actually are a product of our environment. That's one thing that Floyd got right, asshole. And just wanted to say, if you got two twins, one was born seconds after, they're identical twins, same weight, same age, but one's a couch potato and one does construction for a living. They're going to have two totally different genetic expressions from one another. And it's not because one brother is evolving to have really high, speed eye-thumb coordination because he plays video games all day, and the other guy has really high endurance, right? That's not evolution, right? It's genetic expression. And the way that they explained it, right, the geneticists, is that you have two basically codes, two genetic codes. One is written in pen that you can't change, right? Like your earlobes and your eyebrows and your eye color, your skin color. But the other one is written in pencil, and you can actually select certain attributes and activate them. So no one is gaining special abilities. No one's gaining the ability to breathe water or breathe air, right? What's going on is that we have the ability to adapt to our environment. Now, the coelacanth is supposed to have been extinct for 65 million years, but we found one alive. And guess what? It's exactly like it looked like, allegedly, 65 million years ago. So what they say is, well, the deep sea, it never changed in 65 million years. How could they know that? How could they know in 65 million years the deepest part of the ocean hasn't changed?
Can I ask a question?
My favorite is the platypus, because the platypus is supposedly our ancestor who changed into a bunch of other creatures, ending up as a human, but the platypus still exists and is unchanged today.
Also, the evolution theory promotes racism. It means black people are actually worse than white people, and we could treat them as animals because they're closer to apes and less like
True.
human. And that means the
think that's the
Japanese are
case.
also the
Wait, wait, wait,
superior
wait, wait,
race
wait, wait,
because
wait.
they have less hair in their bodies.
Well, I
They
got a
actually go for
question.
war because of it because they thought they
Wait,
were
wait,
superior.
where did you get the
to others.
idea that black people are more related to apes than white people?
Because they had more hair, and also because they're
That's what?
I forgot the
Yeah,
reason behind it.
I'm not sure
What
they
they
have
said
more
about
hair.
it,
Have you seen?
look at what Darwin. He talked a lot about it. I'm pretty sure. I think it was him. I don't know his
And
name.
no one believes that Darwin theory. That's a completely stupid idea. The only reason that's just a racist
Yo, but who
argument.
made
That's not true
That's
at all.
what you believe in because everyone's
not what I
different.
believe.
We're all different humans, so that means that some of us is going to be far behind.
You said black people are more related to apes because they have more hair than us.
I don't know exactly what he said, but
I
he
got a
goes into a lot of
question.
detail. I forgot. This is a long time ago.
No one
so-
believes that. That's
sorry.
the same dude that said because black people have smaller skulls or something, that means they're stupid. That makes no sense whatsoever.
Darwin wasn't very smart. He thought that inbreeding was a really good idea, and he experimented on his own family.
Can I ask something?
So it can't be
Yeah, yeah.
demonstrated
Yeah,
anyway.
whoever said that, yes.
I gotta
Yeah,
ask. Who made all these theories and why? That's my question. Who made the Earth is around, and who made the evolution and the Big Bang and all that? And why did they do it? And why are they
The mystery schools.
Satanists is my guess.
Mystery schools.
Well, they're not actually just called Satanists, but yeah.
No, the mystery schools are the ones who came up with this, right? So the mystery
Like
schools were
Harvard.
basically the occultists of their day, right? So they got together and met secretly and came up with all these ideas, right? Some of them were good, some of them were bad. So I'll give you an example of the good ones. The Kabbalion list some pretty good natural laws, right? And you can see the natural laws in everyday life, right? But they also said that a sphere was the most perfect shape in nature. Can anybody point out a sphere in nature?
Nope.
A sphere that exists in nature? Because
Maybe water tropics,
That's-
but that's stretching it.
I can only think of like maybe fruits or some type of food, maybe.
They're not a
they're not
perfect
perfect.
sphere, though.
Mandarin?
There is no perfect sphere. You know, pie goes
you mean
on
perfect
forever,
sphere?
right?
Oh.
I could.
Yeah,
I
it
didn't
doesn't
think
There's
exist.
no perfect anything. There's no perfect triangle.
There's
There's no
a
I
perfect
have to
hexagon. That's
disagree. I think we
the
are
the
perfect.
bees that make
We are
hexagons.
made
they're
in the image of
pretty
God. Our
perfect.
bodies are perfect. Does not mean they're indestructible and we're immortal, but we are perfectly designed. Our bodies have been ruined by the food that our parents have eaten and we eat. That's why we get a lot of common like gene disorders, and our bodies are more messed up than they've ever been before. Whereas when you look at people back then, their bodies were like literally perfect because we are perfect in a sense.
Yeah, Cody, you're dropping some bombs, but let's try to answer this guy's questions. Remember?
Yep.
Do
Sorry
you
about
remember
that.
what he asked?
So what I'm getting at here is that some mysterious people made this up to control everyone, basically.
How's that controlling us, though?
I'll explain. It's really simple. Okay, so if you know about these natural laws, you know about your rights. What rights, you might ask? We hold these truths to be self-evident. So what are these self-evident truths that we know about, right? So would you ever want to suppress anyone's speech? Like, you can't say that. I don't like that. Put him in a cage. Seize him, right? You know that every man, woman, and child has the right to speak, right?
Yep.
So you know that you can't steal their lives. You shouldn't steal their wives. You shouldn't steal their car. 10 Commandments, right? Starting to sound a little familiar. You should honor and obey your parents because they may be the only people on the earth that actually give a fuck about you, right?
Very
Sound
true.
familiar? Okay, so if the government comes up to you and says, hey, give me your ID, what are you going to say? You might say, okay, sure, no problem.
Yeah.
This is for my papers. This is no, Nazi state that I'm under. This is not a stop and identify state. I don't believe I have to give you any of my papers. I haven't committed any crime. Do you suspect me of committing a crime, officer? No? Okay, then you're dismissed. See, once you understand that this place might be created and you comprehend that your rights don't come from men, it comes from the creator. So you probably heard of, people who call themselves sovereign. I believe there's a sovereign God and we're all equal under him. Now, we usually try to avoid God in this, arena that we're in right now. We try to stick to the science and the geometry and the math as best as we can. But in order for me to answer this question, honestly, your rights come from your creator. And if you don't have a creator, if your creator is gravity, you may think that your rights come from the government because all men have a space in their heart or in their soul where they want to be followers. Everybody wants to be a part of the group. It's
That is very true.
psychological. I can't explain it.
Makes
Right?
sense.
So you
Not
could
goes
be a
out of Christianity and
statist.
get another religion.
Yeah, if you're not part of Christianity, then you'll be a leftist state cuck. Right? So you can be a state cuck if you want to, and you can cuck to the state all day long. I don't really give a shit. But if you were to be so inclined to go out and find for yourself what is the actual shape, is it curving? Once you realize that this place is created, it's game over for that state is my God bullshit. I'm not a statist. I think that's complete bullshit. We're all equal under the creator. And if I don't cause any man, woman, or child harm, injury, or loss, fuck off.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Also, the Christian. Also, really thing that fascinated me is that when you realize about the Earth is flat, you realize that the Bible actually talks about it, and yet no Christian ever really says like, or so-called Christians say, "Oh yeah, the Bible actually says the Earth is flat," and like, here's what it says about it and all that. And that's actually another thing too. And also, what else? What was it again? I forgot what I was gonna say.
Doesn't it say in the first page?
Shoot, I forgot what I was gonna say.
I got something. I usually answer it this way, just really simple and stupid. But I have a little brother, and when I was a little younger, I used to play video games a lot more, and he was really little. Like I would basically tell him he would want to play, so I'd be like, "Oh yeah, you can play." I would hand him an unplugged-in controller, and if I could convince him that it was him playing, like he was really enjoying it. You know what I mean? So it's like if they can get you to like think you're playing the game and you're not even plugged in, while they actually are the ones playing. I don't know if I can do that to a little kid. You know, why wouldn't they try to do that to you? So
That does make sense.
See, that's a really good point because this life is like a game. Like, if there's a dragon guarding the door, right? You've heard it before. You should go fight that dragon and reap the treasures, right? But they don't tell you like that. They tell you, to be meek and be humble and be subservient. Sit down, shut up, do your homework. You're not even free at home, you bastard. Do the work we give you. Sit down and shut up and don't ask any questions, or it's to the office and they'll beat you with a piece of wood with holes in it until you submit, say uncle, right? And that's the mentality we need to steer away from. We need to think for ourselves, question authority. So the only authority, we're supposed to respect is our parents and our creator. Everyone else, who the fuck are you to tell me what I can and can't do in my life?
Yeah.
When they're telling you that you live on a ball, they're reserving the knowledge of what this place is to themselves and depriving you of the knowledge of where it is you live.
They make a prison with no walls type of thing.
It promotes nihilism. It promotes hating God, getting rid of God all out of the picture when you believe in the common mainstream
Oh
beliefs.
my god, bro. I have a story about that.
It also just makes you so depressed. I used to be so depressed. I was thinking to myself, like, if there is no God, then I'm meaningless. Like, everything in the long term is meaningless. Like, it doesn't matter what I do in this world, because they say, like, everything's going to end eventually. Like, all the theories, like, oh, it's going to be the sun that blows up and kills us and all this stuff. So it's like, well, everything's ultimately meaningless if there's no God. Like, if there's no God and everything's going to blow up someday, then no matter what I do, nothing matters.
Yeah. I have a story about those types of atheists. Do you ever hear about the one that got hired at NASA as an intern and made like a fat deal about it on Twitter? And they're like mega atheist and full of themselves, and they're just full of it, you know?
I haven't heard that one.
Oh, well, they ended up getting fired because they made such a big deal about it, and they were a furry too. So I don't know, man. But the stuff they hire, the
say
people
they're a
they hire
furry?
at these places, yeah.
Oh man, I do not.
Oh man,
I cannot stand people like that, man. It's so messed
furries?
up. Yes,
Bruh.
people do not listen to what they say. They say, "Oh, I'm not promoting zoophilia and all that stuff," but they are.
Oh my god, bro. Dude, I've been on Discord for way too long to know what the stuff they do, and it's not good. That's what I can say.
You find the most degenerate people.
They're not normal in the slightest at all. It's not good. But yeah, anyway, the stuff the people they have at these institutions and these colleges like Harvard and Yale and these liberals and these types of people, they're just downright insane. It's pretty crazy that they want everyone to be like that.
The sad thing is, the really sad thing is that a lot of people actually like believing the Earth is round, because then it gets rid of God, really. And same with Big Bang Theory, of course. Because then they could think, well, there's no rules. I can do whatever I want. I don't need to worry about, they don't even think about dying, like what happens when they die, until they are on the deathbed. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Let's check in with Benny. What do you think of all this? So basically, they've brought randomness into the scenario. They tell you that you just came out of nothing for no reason, and just through billions of years of just random processes unfolding, that this just came to be. But
I do believe in God.
This
yeah,
is not random.
so it looks like
This is
what's happening here was
statistical
actually
improbability.
intended. It was intentional, and it wasn't random. It didn't just spring into existence for no reason and just turn into this for no reason.
As I'm aware, yeah, I believe that there was a God, whether they created everything in existence or if they created Earth, whatnot. I don't know the whole story behind it. But I personally, I think evolution to me is a completely rational idea, and all the evidence that I've heard about evolution.
Well, let's go over that. Okay, so there's two stories. One is that God created the earth. So let me just say this: two stories. One is that there was a creator, and the other story is that it all came about by a natural process, right? So we can look at both of them, right? Nature. Well, that's like a man-made concept, right? Like infinity. Well, what about God? Some people say that a creator is like a man-made concept. So okay, so far we're equal, right? Except for this thing called functional sequence specified complexity, right? And this is the theory. Yeah, this is the theory of information, right? So if you ever get a letter in the mail and it's in English and you can read it, so there's a transference of information, then the law is it has to come from an intelligent center. Like nature is never going to send you a letter and you can read it, right? Nature, what does nature usually send you? Like dust in your eye, or rain on your parade, right? Rain on your wedding day. That's the kind of stuff that nature does. Nature doesn't give you a CD and then you automatically know, like, oh, I got one of these, like, in my chest from the 90s. I could put a CD player and hook it up to my computer. They called them CD-ROMs back in those days. Okay, I could decipher the information that's on here. That CD that came in the mail, it came from an intelligence center. So let's say you find a document, right, and it's written in Mandarin. No information was exchanged. But let's say you give it to your buddy who's from China, and he speaks and reads Mandarin. Information was exchanged, right? So at this point, you know that it has to be from the center. Well, the genetic code is about as complex as the Library of Congress, every word, every sentence, every paragraph, in one file, right? And if you change a couple of the letters around, that's usually fatal to an organism. It's called cancer, right? So when the genetic code checks itself through mitosis, as the two cells are breaking apart, it checks the code. If there's an error, it fixes the code. Now, if you want to say that just happened to come about by a natural process, that requires a great deal of faith I just simply do not possess. But here's the thing. There's a whole lot of information that's here that's supernatural. Now, most information is supernatural, right? But the information that man-made is sometimes, right? We write letters and, computer operating systems. But you got to ask yourself, how long would it take for it to write its own operating system? If we left it there for 65 million years, do you think the computer would write its own operating system? Like Linux or Windows or Android Cherry Pie 5.0 or whatever that the kids are putting in their cell phones, right? You would have to have an engineer to write the programming, right? Because you can have the hardware, but if you don't have the software, what's going on? So who told the turtle to, climb out of the hole and get in the ocean and dodge the seagulls? Right? Where did the programming come from that tells monkeys to stay away from snakes? What about the cat video? Never seen a snake in its life. You put a cucumber behind it while it's eating, that thing will jump up like 6.5 feet in the air. How does it know to be afraid of this? Right? That's genetic memory. Right? And all this stuff is in the code. Think about it. Your mom and your dad, they get together, right? They share genetics and the zygote forms. And it writes a meat suit. And 9 months later, a man comes out, a man-child, or a baby, whatever you call it, right? Like, that's some serious programming. Anybody who knows anything about programming. And I know that I've been long-winded, but I just wanted to be, real crystal clear about this. One creation myth is that Big Bang, somehow defied gravity. And then gravity made Spaceballs. And every creature you see here sprang up out of the elements or the rocks. I mean, that requires a great deal of faith. I'm sorry for being so long-winded. If anybody else would like to respond or continue.
I think it's a statistical improbability for it to just be random and happen by chance. That's just not statistically possible in math or anything.
I agree. Some things you can say some things are possible, then it gets to the point where it's so ridiculous, the theory, that it's impossible. Like saying everything exploded out of nothing for no reason. That's just impossible. Like I don't need to say it's a 0.001% chance. No, it's just impossible. Some things are impossible. Also, another thing is, I hope you realize, Benny, but by believing the Earth is round and believing in evolution, which has no proof besides the little changes in people of adapting to certain environments, then you are believing in a religion. I hope you realize that, just so you know, because some people don't realize they're in a religion.
I don't know it's a particular religion I believe in.
Pardon?
I wouldn't say I follow a particular religion, but yeah, I do believe in God, and I think that there are aspects of the Bible and stuff that could be true.
Oh, I just wanted to add earlier, because you asked about when we were talking about outer
I
space
mean,
and stuff, we were like, well, what about the Big Bang?
Yes.
That's sort of the right mindset. You're asking, well, how did the Earth get here? That is a good question that you should be asking if someone does present you with a flat Earth with no outer space. So I think you're almost on target there, asking how to get there. But then you say you might be into the Word and a creator, so you're already on target, my friend. So someone else, go ahead.
I'd just like to say something real quickly. I don't think you need to believe in God for God to be real, because I never, I guess you could say believe. I just knew he existed. I don't know if it's the same for anyone else, but it's just so obvious. Even when I was a kid, I just looked around outside. I looked at everything. I was like, yeah, there's no way we just poofed out of existence here. Everything just makes so much sense. The real question is which God? That's really was my question, not whether he
Yep,
exists, but rather who is
correct.
he? And I came to the conclusion it's a
Hitting
Christian God
Sheba.
because, man, I've been reading the Book of Enoch, and in case you didn't realize, the reason it's not in the mainstream Christian text is because I think it's the Catholics, like basically like the evil guys, like the mysteries and all that. They're the ones that decide which books are in the Bible or not. And there's a really good reason why Book of Enoch isn't in there. It actually talks a lot about flat Earth, and it makes a lot of predictions, like how the actual days in the year is 364, and it says they'll change it in the future, and they actually change it. Now it's 365.25. So that's an interesting one. They also said how what else? I forgot because I just recently started reading it, but that's a really interesting one that is really on my mind recently.
Wait, why did they though? Why did they change the day? Is it just
Because
random
they hate
question?
God. They want to literally stray away from God as much as possible. Like they literally hate him so much that they've made
I'll be right back.
their own model of the world, not flat, sorry, round model of the world. Do they literally oppose God in every way? Like,
Seems about right.
Casey didn't realize Satan rules this world.
With the stuff I've seen in this world, I mean, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if Satan existed. I think the biggest fool he did to fool everyone is that he doesn't exist. But I mean, they still doing their rituals and shit, and fucking Bohemian Grove and whatever the hell that is.
So you guys are talking about Satan, and Hasatan literally means your adversary, right? And if you don't think that you got an adversary, apparently you've done no research into like child trafficking and adrenochrome and the elites
Oh
and
God, I've seen.
Bohemian Grove. If you've done like any research at all, like you have an adversary out there somewhere. If you think that no one's opposing you, then you're probably I don't know, naive maybe. Yeah. So you definitely have an adversary, and I just want to get it back to the shape of the earth because we try to avoid religious topics because everybody has their own religion, and if we get into that sooner or later, we're going to spiral out of control and start arguing. So what we do here is we try to stay focused on the earth. So we were talking about evolution, which we kind of can't avoid it, but we need to nip the evolution thing in the bud. And basically, what it boils down to is that if there's macroevolution, here's the problem. There's the missing link. I'm sure we've all heard of it, but
Yep.
this is 100% true. There are 0 human bones in the pre-human fossil record. Now, what does that mean? That if we're dealing with humans, right, like they might find like a little tip of a pinky and say, this is a Denisovan, right? Okay, well, that's great and everything, but it's just a pinky tip, right? We want to see like a full skeleton. Well, they show like Artie. Oh, Artie, yeah. Their funding was about to run out, and it looks like they grabbed some pieces together from different locations and said, look, here's Artie, right? But I don't know, that's not really worthy. So we know that not Cro-Magnon, we know that Neanderthal interbred with Homo sapiens sapiens. So that means that Neanderthals are Homo sapiens sapiens. There is no subcategory human, right? We're all Homo sapiens sapiens. There's no Homo sapien Neanderthal, Homo sapien Cro-Magnon. No, we're all interbreedable. We can all breed with each other. And I'm not talking about inbreeding like, Einstein marrying his cousin or the other guy, Darwin, marrying. Anyway, not talking about that. I'm saying that we can, create life together, even the Neanderthals. So this whole idea of out of Africa theory, it's racism as far as I can tell. It's like if you take a look at the subspecies, like telling people that white people have privilege and black people are inferior, it's like that's just racism. It's a bunch of bullshit. And to me, only very low IQ, low brow mouth breathers actually believe in racism. Because anybody who watches the
Evolution
Olympics, well, yeah, that's what it promotes. It's scientific racism, right? But there's no science involved because who wins the foot races? Africans. Okay, well, who wins the swimming races? Usually Europeans, right? And then, Asians are like a lot smarter than us, right? And they're definitely, a lot more privileged than even the whites in some scenarios, right? In certain aspects of academia, especially, right? So we're different, but we're equal, if that's comprehensible for some people. And I really do believe that. We're different, but we're equal. So I'm a MMA fan, right? I've been watching people fight since I was growing up in the hood, right? I've been in several fights, 17 fights myself. No exaggeration. So I know that different, so-called races, which are actually ethnicities, they have different attributes. But that's by and large, right? Sometimes you meet a dumb Asian, and sometimes you meet a white guy who could beat a black guy in a foot race, but not all the time, right? So there's outliers. There's people who are, outside of the bell curve, so to speak. But the thing about it is that the whole Darwin's book about preferred races, if you don't know the full title, please look it up. It's basically like slave trader literature and doesn't have any actual validity in the scientific academia realm. Just my opinion. Thanks.
Also, Hitler was an evolutionist as well, so take that in.
Or wasn't Walt Disney also a Nazi sympathizer?
Also, it's pretty funny if you believe in evolution that it came from a rock.
Rocks aren't alive, so that's not a thing.
Well, NASA.
What they say that we say like there was chemicals and all that explosions on the rocks, whatever on Earth. Then we just somehow
NASA.
life just created out of immaterial
Yeah, bro.
materials, which has
The
never been
experts
done
are
before.
I
the
live an
experts.
hour away from NASA, so
Well, here's what the experts are saying.
There's no such thing in my world as life, really, that we're very complicated rocks. I actually think of myself as a very complicated rock. I am made of things like iron and copper and manganese. When you sit down on a mountainside and you're there with a rock, those are your cousins too.
Exactly.
sounds like one of those
So when someone says you
astrologists.
have rocks for brains, be like, yes, I do.
Dude, when she says that, it reminds me of those tree hugger people, but not to be offensive or anything, but like the people with the crystals, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Those,
Well, this is
Come
Michelle
on.
Fowler.
This is worse than that. This is a lot worse than that. Because,
NASA.
okay, so Michelle Fowler works for NASA. She's a science communicator. And she's saying that you're a complicated rock, basically. Right?
no,
Other
yeah,
people have said that we're fungus on mold on bread, right? And all sorts of weird things like that. I would say that you are a man and you're capable of manifesting thought from an immaterial world and manifesting it onto this 3D plane, right? And you can change the world forever. It only takes one man to change the world forever.
yeah,
You are
but
such a powerful being that you can come across all sorts of injuries and survive, right? But the most important thing is that you have like all these mechanisms for like second chance to live again, right? You get stabbed, you got platelets. If you're, hunting or whatever, you get knocked out. Well, you can't further the brain damage because you're in, a wobbly chicken leg, Like think about all the survival mechanisms that we have. You get too close to the edge and like your hippocampus or your hypothalamus like hippocampus takes over and like makes you back up without even like thinking about it. Like this design that we have, we are really powerful beings. In fact, I would say one of the most powerful beings on earth is a man or woman that can read, think, and write. because ideas change the world forever. You're not just a complicated rock.
It is amazing.
Yeah, I think their
how
goal is
like
to degrade us.
amazing our brain is, how we can think, how like all the things we take for granted, like seeing how perfect we can see. Like you don't even think about it, but it's amazing how pinpoint perfect we can see, how pinpoint perfect you can hear. Okay, well, some people can't, I don't understand, but yeah, and just everything about a body. It's just amazing.
Think about a
You
soccer
really think about it.
goal. Think about all the calculations it takes to make a soccer goal between 3 defenders.
How complex it is just to walk, and our body is just amazing. It's just completely amazing, and how it can adapt at certain scenarios now. So like for example, like um I personally think that this is gonna sound crazy, but I personally think that cancer is actually good for you. It's your body trying to adapt to what's happening, trying to help you. There's really tumors and other stuff that causes the problems. So when someone smokes, it's your body adapting, trying to fight it and trying to help you. It's really amazing. It's just amazing how tough our body is and how smart we are. And just all the little things we take for granted. This is absolutely amazing. It's stuff that we can't even like do nearly as good, like with robots, trying to make them balance as good as we can. That takes a lot of time. I'm pretty sure they have done it now, but it's really hard and complicated.
And that's a good point.
I think back to the topic of NASA is that their whole point is to make us feel inferior to whoever the heck is controlling us, and that we're less than what we're made for, and that they're trying to make degrading us basically. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, that's why you see all these people cuck, and like when you ask them for proof, they're like, "Well, you have to ask them." It's like,
Yeah, exactly. And that makes them more submissive, and it makes them more controllable, and et cetera, et cetera. You know.
My theory, it's a bit religious, but my theory is that I think they're trying to hide the truth, like the ultimate truth, which is, well, in my opinion, Christianity. Because I mean, when you look at Christianity, there's more than 120 something. I think it's 28 something denominations. Which, if you know what a denomination is, that's basically another religion of Christianity, and that is ridiculous. 128 religions in one religion. Ridiculous, just in one book.
Yeah, and they make fun of Christianity a lot, but don't dare make fun
Definitely.
of Hinduism or Shiva or any of these other ones. But they
Also,
mock Christianity a lot.
yeah, people have thrown away their morals now. Like that was a common belief back in the day was like how being gay is wrong, but now it's just a common thing. No one no one cares. No one's fighting against it.
Must be Aleister Crowley.
Sorry, guys. Gotta cut you off again. We don't really care, on this channel if people are homosexual or not. We're trying to stay focused. Morals are a big issue. I'll give you that. Morals is definitely kind of the forefront of the war, right? So I'll give you that. It's really important that we keep and go back to our old school morals. But we don't really care what people believe. Like, it's not about what you believe. So let's stick with what we can prove. Okay. So
What do
I
you
was talking
think
earlier
about
about the info.
what do you
What?
think about schools? Just a question. What do you think about schools?
Schools?
I'm against organized religion, taxing schools, pretty much all the things we didn't ask the government to do for us.
Do you think schools can work?
Yeah, if they're not controlled by the Rockefellers.
The way schools are, especially colleges, it's just it's not good.
They taught me back in the day that and I remember them telling me this. I heard from someone that apparently they changed it, the theory, but back when I was in primary school, the teacher taught me that the reason the sky was blue was, I believe it's water, because that's what the Bible says, it's water. But what they said is that it's because of the ocean. I don't know if you got taught this too, or it was just my school, but I got taught that it is the ocean, the reflection from the ocean, that made the whole sky blue. And I'm so stupid for believing that when they taught me that. I feel
It's
so
so
dumb.
weird because now they say that it's the particles in the atmosphere that make it blue, but then again, like
Yeah.
Oh, is that what they
Currently,
say
they say
now?
it's Mia
it would
or
be an
Relay
infinite
scattering.
reflection. It would be like the water reflecting the atmosphere and the atmosphere reflecting the water. So where the heck does the blue come from?
Must be Australian schools because I got taught the same.
Yeah, I'm in Australia. So I guess Australians get taught that. And I always remember looking up and I started thinking to myself, wait a minute. Like, this is when I start to become a flat earth. I was like, wait a minute. Like, that makes no sense if it's because of the ocean. Because then, like, when I look in the mirror of a blue T-shirt on, the whole mirror doesn't turn blue.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and why would it be blue in the middle of the desert?
True.
I want to go to the desert in Australia.
But hey, we won't need to look at the sky anymore because of the chemtrails.
Oh yeah, I heard about chemtrails. Is it true what they say about it? That it's bad?
I don't know, man, but they're doing that a lot where I live. Can't
No,
even
it's
see the
false.
sky no more.
Chemtrails are not harmful. They're just contrails.
I'd also love to
Vapor.
see the not blue sky. A night sky. You ever heard about it? How like we can't see the full beauty of the night sky?
I've never
Apparently,
seen
I
the
think it's
night
one of the most
sky.
beautiful things, but we can't see it because they call it light pollution. Just
Yeah,
because
I
of the
live in the
light.
city and it's terrible. It looks like
We
it's
literally
daytime.
like people back in the day would say all about how there's so many stars in the sky. It's like trying to count like the sands on the seashore. But now when I look at the sky, I can count them. I can count every single one. But okay, there's 10 in the sky. Whereas back then it would be like, whoa, there's like hundreds. It's like amazing and beautiful. So that's one thing I want to do. Go out. I also want to go to Uluru as well.
I'd love to go out in the middle of nowhere and look at the sky, away from the city.
It's one thing I want to do before I die.
I really
Just to
hate
see
the
how
city, man.
beautiful it would look. I think it would be the most beautiful thing ever. I mean, like the blue sky, I already think it's beautiful, even though it's literally just blue.
Yeah,
I still think that's beautiful and look at the trees. So I can't just wait and just believe. I can't even imagine how beautiful it would look on a clear night sky.
the blue sky with no clouds. Must be nice.
Very relaxing too.
Well,
Are they
anyway,
putting down restrictions for the thing that's going on at the moment?
I don't know. But anyway, on the topic of the sky and the stars, the other flat Earth theory thing about the stars. You know how they don't like move that much because if we were spinning around,
I heard that they move only in like a perfect circle.
yeah, they move in like a figure eight or something. You got the shoot, I forgot what it was called, the equinox stuff, and then you got the bottom of it. I don't know. There's a photo somewhere, but basically the stars don't really deviate from their path that much. Because if
Also,
you were
if you're a
spinning,
round earther, that makes a lot no sense. I
yeah,
said that wrong. It makes not that much sense how the stars move at all.
yeah,
I mean, did I say flat earther? I meant round earther.
they've been
Don't remember.
relatively in the same spot for centuries. So if we were moving around everywhere, then that wouldn't happen.
You would literally be able to see the stars moving as
Yep,
you're sitting there. Like you'd literally be able to see it if you look at it for just a while. You're like, wow, oh, I see it moving. Look at that. You'd also feel. They also say the Earth tilts. You would definitely be able to feel that because they say it tilts. I think 2 or 3 times a day, like very little or something like that. Like you should be able to feel it.
I don't even know where they put that in the theory.
They say it's always tilted, and then it's rotating like a gyroscope and maintaining its position in space as it orbits around the sun, still pointed at the Polaris at all times. It's a little bit retarded, but that's what they believe.
Yeah, it doesn't
Well,
make a
I
lot
have
of
a question
sense.
about that.
Ask away.
How come, like for an example, I can see the constellation Orion in the northern hemisphere. That's where I'm at. I can see it 3 months only in the winter. Cannot see it in the summer. I can see Sagittarius in the summer, but not in the winter. So how does those stars move? If it's moving in a circle, I see that Orion
I can
constellation
explain it. I can
every
explain how it works.
night for 3 months. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, so the solar day is exactly 24 hours, and the sidereal day is like 23 hours and 56 minutes or something like that. And then the moon's day is like 27 hours and like 49 minutes or something like that. You know, they have different times, right? So the moon laps the sun, or sorry, the sun laps the moon once every 28 days, right? And then the sky laps the sun once a year. Does that make sense?
Sounds complicated.
Also, I heard some theories, like some people.
Okay, I'll try it again. You got a sky over us, right? And it's turning faster than the day, right? So if you wake up one day and Pleiades is right over your head as soon as the sun comes up, right? Well, that's going to change, and it's going to be a little more towards the east the next day as the sun comes up, and the next day it'll be a little more towards the east until eventually it's too far away, like 6,000 miles away, and you can't see it anymore. You expect it.
Mm-hmm.
Heard some people think that there's like other like suns and moons in that, like outside of our was it like outside of Antarctica, like outside of like other sun, like other areas in that, kind of like ours.
That's all speculation. So is what I just said about it. It's pretty close. Yeah, just look up solar day, sidereal day. It's pretty.
Could it be simply described as by saying that the constellations that you can't see during a certain season, that if you could see them, they would be in the direction of the sun, so in the daytime sky, and so that's why you don't see them?
It reminds me of eclipse, how eclipses work, because the sun and the moon have to be the same size.
It's over the course of the year, the stars move over the land, and then because we understand where they are and how they're mapped out, and it doesn't change, we can navigate using them. All of the stars are always visible above the Earth. There's no stars hidden behind the sun in a heliocentric delusion. The stars are just not visible while the sun is passing above you.
Makes sense.
What do you guys think is going to happen in the future? Do you think it's going to get better or worse?
I'm not very optimistic about things when it comes to that. I don't think it'll get better. Although, with the internet and stuff, I would say we're waking up more people. So that's a good thing.
Why do you guys think people don't want to believe in the flat Earth?
I would say conditioning.
Yeah.
Just conditioning?
They've been taught that it's ludicrous, crazy, insane. You know?
Cognitive ease and conditioning. Like when you have thought something to be true your entire life and everything appears to confirm it, that you see in media and all of the people you know believe it, it's really easy to convince yourself of it. They've even done studies on this where they take a whole group of people who are in on it and then one person who is not, and then make all the people who are in on the test say that, for instance, 2 + 2 is 5. And once it gets to the people being tested, most people will actually say 2 + 2 is 5.
Yeah. I think, if enough people believe in something, people will believe it's true. That's pretty much how everything happening is happening, if you think about it.
It's also to fit in as well, I think, because a lot of people like to be the mainstream. Like you know, it's a trend nowadays where everyone believes in the same thing.
Yeah.
Like, everyone's like cookie cutters, like all the same people. Really sad that no one really is their self anymore.
It's like a housing district. The suburbs where all the houses.
I actually think it's less than 50%. I think the number is smaller, around like 40% of the people that are just like really too far gone. They won't even listen to like facts anymore. Like they're only saying feelings. Right? That's awesome. I really have that some. I don't think that's most people. I think the number like
to your point, I do think that more people are aware than not aware to some extent.
So, like, I see some polls recently that most people think the country is heading in the wrong direction, like 80%. But it's like, really ridiculous. But who's the 20% that are like, no, everything's going fine. I love it's going to get out. I think it's
I'm the only one that can't really understand Larry.
Oh yeah, Larry, you're kind of cutting out a little bit. But yeah, I get what you're saying.
Is it possible to go over Antarctica?
I don't know about that one.
I'd love to try it. Even though it'd be almost impossible.
That'd be a tough journey.
Operation Fishbowl. Oh wait, it's the other operation. I forgot.
I think that's high jump.
Yeah, right. Fishbowl is the one where they launched the bombs at it, right? One of these silly military names.
Even if you got there, where are you going to go? Can't refuel. Can't do anything.
Unknown.
Good point. We can make it into a giant ski resort.
I personally think there's islands beneath it. Or really countries, because I think the countries beneath it.
That'd be crazy. But I mean, who knows? Like, they ain't gonna let us go over there. They'd send in like F-15s if you try to go over there, right? Or you just freeze over.
I think it is possible, maybe, because I mean, like, I don't know how hard it is to live in the snow. I don't know how hard it is to make like a huge trip across the country in the snow.
Well, all the resources you're gonna need, you got to bring them in yourself.
Yep, exactly.
Pretty much.
You got to get there
possible
first.
to live in the snow? Like,
the government will not help you at all.
I mean, like, let's say hypothetically, you somehow teleport, or maybe you just ship to get there. Let's just say you teleport in the snow, and you have like at least some warm clothes on and like some basic necessities. Is it possible to like make it? Like, if you're a pro expert survivalist?
How do you teleport?
What are you saying hypothetically?
I'm saying hypothetically, like, let's say you get there, like, doesn't
Okay,
matter
but the
how you
problem
get
would
there. Let's
be-
say you get there, right? You get there to
I
begin with.
think you would need to eat and there's no fish because it's ice. And no matter how far you dig, it won't.
Is there no
have
animals?
fish.
No, there's no animals.
There's only like penguins on the edge,
Penguins.
but that's it.
You
Once
can't
get
get
inland,
there.
there's nothing there.
You guys obviously know about the Antarctic Treaty.
Yeah, I know about that. So it's
Okay,
basically no
well-
man's land. Like there's like no man's and no animals land.
It's funny how we have oceans unexplored, Antarctica explored, and yet they want to focus on space so much with the SpaceX rockets and the new frontier for human exploration.
we're gonna go
and
to
stuff
Mars
like
soon, guys. Be excited for that. You better go on Mars, yay!
that. Oh yeah, I'd sure love to
We're not gonna go back
Mars.
to the moon, guys. Nah, the moon's old school. Like, who wants to go to the moon? Like, put buildings and give life to
come
it? No,
on
no.
now.
Let's just skip the moon and go to Mars.
Yeah, right. Like, let's just get some Bitcoin and save up our money to go to Mars with Elon Musk and Bezos. Some of these stunts are pretty funny, though.
Yeah, so glad you were right about that thing or him or her, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Should have booted that thing pretty quick.
Well, yeah. Is what it is.
I can't believe we spent like an hour talking to it.
I mean, I understand. I like to play with my food too, and
I'm not even sure that there was sentience behind that thing.
I know of a prank caller who is really good at what he does, and he uses his voice changers all the time that sound pretty genuine, and then some of them just sound like guitar pedals. But so the technology out there exists to make it sound real enough for 85% of people.
It was at a point though where I was like, okay, the horizon, it's before or after that rig. Oh, I don't know. I don't want to look stupid.
Yeah, it's just it was a show, I could tell from the start.
Yeah.
A few other people were agreeing with me in DM, so it's fine. No worries. It happens, and I probably overreacted, but I'm not gonna say that I don't still stand by my reaction because I don't like liars.
It was there's some sort of LARP, some sort of strange activity going on there. It was a clown show, and we were just giving into it for way too long.
I get it though.
My opinion.
Jokes on them because they don't want to believe the truth.
It goes either way. It's like it's fun to point out how the only thing people have if they don't want to learn is to mock things they don't understand, and that's sad to me.
Mm-hmm. Well, what I'm saying is I'm not
nowadays.
I'm not convinced that thing wasn't just a bot even.
Right. Yeah, because I mean, in DMs, I asked Morningstar, "Why do you call yourself the god of vocals?" And they said it's a joke. Just shows that I'm a vocalist. People say I'm good, but that is their opinion.
Yeah. See, all robotic answers, like everything
weird.
I said to it, it was just like robotic, scripted, vague, non-answers. It was like, okay, what's it saying about where that oil rig is or something? I don't know. I can't give that kind of information or whatever. Those types of answers.
To be fair, I did say the Helio fed her the answer. I don't think anyone else picked up on it.
What?
Yeah.
So I was trying to look at both sides of the coin, and I did call her out for that.
Oh, well, Larry, I was getting salty at you, but I didn't want you to keep feeding the monster. That's all.
Yeah.
Well, if you thought it was an AI, I mean, I thought that one guy was AI before. We don't know what they might.
Oh dear.
See.
I really want to hear what you're saying about your roboting. It's like the worst time to have somebody robot.
And then it's like, I was like, well, I'm just going to put you on mute if you're not going to go on your phone and just, just prove your actual voice to us. And they're like, that's okay. That's just the kind of person I am. I'm like, oh, okay, Siri.
Weird. Yeah.
It's like, oh, who doesn't have a phone and who's so-called like famous?
And who
that they make
responds
an
to like, I'm gonna mute you, I'm gonna ban you? Well, that's okay. That's your opinion. Okay.
Right.
This
And she couldn't
total
even
monotony.
he couldn't even like do like change his voice, like go like I remember someone was saying like, oh, change your voice, like literally anything, like you could just go like a little squeaky voice something, but nope, wouldn't do it.
Well, I know. That's anyway. I'm clearly over it. If you think I overreacted, tough shit. Let's move on.
Yeah, no, I'm not worried about that. I don't know. Just wanted to talk about it because it was a weird thing.
It was strange. And I heard about kind of the rest of it, so I'm glad it went the way it went from what I heard.
I haven't seen much voice changes, so it's pretty funny to see one in action.
Yeah.
Don't those cost like money anyway to do?
A little bit. The guy said my friend is pretty good with software. It is more like that than it is. You have to have a lot of expensive, equipment to do it.
Why do people get it?
I mean, there's certain stuff they make for movies to do audio replacement, overdubbing, and stuff like that to make things true to life. They did it with Val Kilmer's voice in the new Top Gun. Val Kilmer has throat cancer in real life and stuff like that, so they didn't want that voice to be with Val Kilmer saying what he says to Tom Cruise at the time, but it's his voice pieced together just like a Siri kind of deal, and so he would speak and then it would sound more like him than just like a something else would. They used recordings of his voice. And it really does. It sounds like just a regular person whispering, talking. So it sounded just like somebody. So they can do it if they want. People can do it if they want. And it's not really that expensive either. It's mostly software anyway. In fact, I wouldn't be able to see what hardware would be used for something like that. You don't necessarily even need it. Anyway, is what it is.
Is what it is.
Yep. So Jesse Gordon, you've got some theodolite action going on or something. What's this in the picture?
Well, I went to the lake yesterday, and I put two flashlights and a telescope, all 48 inches above the water, spaced out about 1.5 miles roughly between each for a total of 3.1 miles from end to end. And so that's what it is. So, for some reason, the light in the middle was like higher than the light in the distance.
Do you know the heights of these trees?
No, but you can tell by the diameter of the trunk of that tree that the light is higher by approximately that much at least. So, it's not like we're just looking like at a couple millimeters of
difference. And what does this
there.
mean to you regarding the shape of the Earth?
Well, it kind of makes it look like there's a bulge in the middle, doesn't it?
No.
Well, how would you explain three things that are all at the exact same height above the water, not being in line with each other?
Bro, I can barely see the picture you're using at all, let alone what's behind those dots. So okay. I don't know what you're trying to say here with any of it.
Is this his profile picture?
What's that?
Huh?
Is that his profile picture that he's talking about, yeah?
You're super quiet.
No, it's
I
picture. It's a picture.
I uploaded it
in the text.
In the chat.
Bloody noise suppression.
Oh, crack villain. Yeah, you're quiet, bud. Oh, but I have you down. Hang on. That's probably fine.
Labels.
Do I sound? Am I sounding definitely fully low to anyone else?
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, yeah. I apologize for the quality of the picture.
I just don't know what you're trying to prove with that. That's what I'm saying. Like that, I don't even. All I see is dots, and in the middle of what appears to be a very, very, very blurred out filter on what could be a photo.
Yeah, it was.
Does it make sense to you how sloppy this is to even bring into a debate about the makeup of how the surface of the Earth measures?
Yeah, and I'm going to try to get a better one when it's not raining or foggy.
Okay, my friend, and I don't want to be rude, but you have not provided one piece of evidence for anything to back up any of your claims. And further, none of your claims have anything to do with the Earth actually directly measuring flat. I guess I could say another thing. When did you measure with a laser anything?
So that was my question. Would it be better if I set up a laser that was shot out across the lake and then measured the distance between the water surface and the laser beam at different distances?
Basically, yes. Yeah. Do it at night. It's, got to do it at night. Try to get a place where it's the frozen lakes are the best, but not on a night when there's a lot of, steam coming up off the ice. So really clear, frozen kind of deal, if you can. If not, no big deal.
Yeah, we don't have frozen lakes around here.
Okay, yeah.
So, like, wait a minute. Are you giving us this as a form of proof in favor of the flat Earth?
I wouldn't say that.
Like, you do realize that well, I'm asking you. I haven't even read it yet. It's just what Glatt was saying then sounded a bit confusing. He's like advising you how to do it, right? And I was like, wait, like that can't be a flat. No, it definitely isn't a flat Earth's attempt to, prove that the Earth is flat because look at the state of it, right?
You're looking at what?
The state of it.
Bro.
The state.
The state. Yeah, if you lived in England, you'd understand. Like, look at the state of it. It's sort of like saying like, "Raw, that's disgustingly rubbish." Ugh. Yeah. Same.
I'm not sure I followed that.
He's saying your picture.
You think it's great. You think it's good work. Obviously, I get it, bro. So you can't follow when I'm telling you how shit it is. I understand. I didn't want to swear. That's all. Sorry, Abby.
No, I'm not saying it's a high quality picture. It's just the best I could get in a rainstorm, trying to hold an umbrella and a phone and on a phone.
So why don't you wait till a different time?
Why? Yeah. What are you doing? Like slap. What is it with people? What is it with globers? No, wait there. I need to say this.
Environment.
Is it okay? I'm not talking about that. What is it with globers? Yeah, that believe that they can basically go out and do whatever. Literally, oh my god! You remember this already comes from the idea of fairy tales. All right, guys, big lies. These big lies are here for a reason. They are here to ensnare people in forms of slavery for the rest of their life. Okay, right? Remember that. And so we have people trying to remedy the situation. Yeah, delete your picture, mate. I would. No, I'm just joking. But anyway, listen. We have people trying to remedy the situation in their own mind of like people believing in the flat Earth because we're so dumb, guys, and they come and bring us this. Like, what? In what world do they live in?
I'm not sure.
The first test I did for the flat Earth, I had a balloon and had it to a rock, and then if there was any movement, it was a helium balloon. So if there's any move, because helium like literally lying there, any movement, even a slight breath would move it, and you'd be able to see. If there's any movement on the ground, like the Earth spinning, then it would look like the balloon's being pushed. Because I mean, like if you walk up a balloon, you see how you obviously know the balloon falls behind. You'd see that, but that doesn't happen. So, yeah, no movement on it.
In what setting? I'm sorry, like, I don't quite understand what you're trying to say. Like, you're trying to say
balloon,
that
right?
you would
A
see
helium
the
balloon.
reference of. You're trying to say you'd see the reference of the Earth's rotation underneath the balloon.
I'm saying there's any movement on the ground, they say the ground's moving, like the Earth spinning, then there'll be at least any kind of movement on the balloon, like a slight movement at all.
Yeah, okay. That could be good for you to like for yourself, right? Yeah, because you understand that it's impossible for motions and everything. But with all the rubbish and malarkey that they've told over the years, with like conservation of motion, and gravity and all of that stuff, like that wouldn't like sort of help anyone else on the globe side sort of
It helps me.
decipher. I'm glad it does. Like that's brilliant. You know what I mean? Mate, just a helium balloon alone should help somebody out. Like the helium balloon doesn't. You know what I'm trying to say? Like that's simple. But yeah. I'm just saying it's not a good evidence. You know what I mean? That's all.
I thought it was good.
Yeah, yeah. But there are
It's like
a lot of
gravity.
holes.
Gravity. I don't think that has an impact on the experiment.
Just because the helium balloon's in it alone, right? Yeah.
Because the way the
Yeah,
physics,
no, but you.
what's called the way the physics works, like how how like some energy, like if you're running, like some of the energy turns to heat. So like if you throw a ball in the air on the treadmill, like it won't exactly stay on the same plate because the way the thing works. So that's why yeah.
But the issue is that like so the point is they also say that the atmosphere rotates with the Earth as well, so that anything that's within inside of the atmosphere was already at that speed. So they have like all these stupid excuses, right, to negate.
I know they keep making. I heard one person say that to me. I was like, no, that's not that. Because I remember I looked up, and that's not the way it works. They don't say like. There's so many different like round Earth excuses. Like some say it's the wind that keeps everything in place, and if that was the case, then you do it inside. There's a lot of excuses.
Well, conservation of motion also like anything that sort of leaves the ground, anything that is attached to matter that has gravitational force on it, and all this sort of stuff. It's like they all say, like the plane takes off, and because the plane takes off of a runway that's already doing that speed, like, but then they forget that obviously, what about if the runway's facing in a different direction, right? Like, what does that do for conservation?
The
You know what I mean?
ultimate
Like,
thing is that really they have to prove their own theory.
of course.
So like even though I may not have all the evidence, especially me because I don't know everything about flat Earth. Like on the proving side, I guess you could say. But on the end of the day, I know I'm right, so really it's them. They have to try and prove their own theory. When they do that, then
course,
they'll see
man.
the truth that I see, and then they'll
Bro,
start to
that's
be like,
why I
"Yeah,
said
fair
it's perfect for yourself. Like, that's what I meant. Like, it's perfect for you, bro. Because at the end of the day, like, it's not like it's uh, yeah, it's perfect for yourself. They're the ones with a positive claim. They're the ones with a problem, not us. No one senses any motion. No one sees any curvature anywhere at all. You have to
The truth's
basically
right in front of you. Like
disbelieve.
when you look at the sun, you don't think, "Oh man, that is a huge sun that is millions and millions of miles away." No, you think, "Hey, that's a little sun. That's very little.
Mhm.
It's very bright."
You don't look at it and think like actually the sun isn't not actually wait there the sun instead of it being like moving around small above my head it's actually millions of miles away, right? And I'm
No
on a
one thinks
ball
that.
doing a backflip away from it.
No
Like literally
scientist
think about
goes and
that.
looks at the sun and thinks that. No scientist goes and thinks, "Hey, what if the sun? This is a crazy theory, but what if the Earth that we are on is moving, and what if the sun is huge?" Completely, it's completely contradictory to what's like our body's telling us. Our body literally says, "There's no movement." When we like look at the the sun, my body's telling me, "Yep, it's far away, but it's definitely not billions of miles away." It's also not bright enough to light up the whole Earth. It's like, man, it's like the truth. The truth is right in front of them. Like the truth is right in front of their eyes, and yet they deny it. It's just so funny.
Yeah, man, it is hilarious, especially like that wording of it as well. I like the word saying like, yeah, you see the sun there. Like, by the way, guy, it's not that you're seeing that sun just, rotating and orbiting. And I'll say rotating and orbiting, whatever. Orbital paths are not claimed and owned by the globe yet. The word orbit. Um, some of these words, I feel like we've got to like redefine them because they don't actually know what they mean. Like, they use it in the way they want to use it. They want to
Also,
use it.
gravity makes no sense. They say, "Oh yeah, gravity." It's like, "Oh, why does Earth have gravity?" It's because it's really big. It's
Oh
really
yeah.
big. It's
Of
like,
course.
okay, what about mountains? They're pretty big. Like, wouldn't you have at least like a dot of gravity to it? Nope.
And also, they say that like we're revolving around the sun, right? Because it's the biggest amount of mass. But it's like, how come the sun's revolving around an invisible center of mass with another planet in our solar system? Like that's what they claim. Like, so how are we revolving around the fucking sun? That makes no fucking sense. Sorry, I shouldn't be swearing. Like legit, Matthew, you can answer me that one. Matthew, riddle me this one, Batman, because you're here. Matthew.
Okay, go ahead. What were we asking?
Right. So how is it, right, that you would say that we're effectively orbiting around the sun? Yeah. Would you say that's true?
Yes.
No.
How is that possible if the sun itself is orbiting around an invisible center of mass with another planet?
What do you mean? I mean,
What do you mean?
If
That's the claim.
if the sun is moving and the Earth is going around
No,
it,
no, listen. The sun and another planet. I'm not saying the name of it because I know the name of it obviously, but I'm saying it in this way for a reason. Okay, Matthew. The sun. This is this is the claim. The sun and another planet of a equipotent mass. I'll say it like that. Are apparently rotating around a center of mass that operates between the two of them orbital bodies, as it were, and they're orbiting around that point. How is that possible?
Let me answer.
I don't know what other planet you're talking about, but
Well, you don't even know your own model, mate. Do you? That's the problem. Right, cool.
So when
Later.
the Earth and the sun when the sun is orbiting the Earth, really they're both orbiting a center of mass point, which happens to be within the under the surface of the sun.
But what's the distance between that planet and the sun, Matthew?
Earth, it's about 94.8 million miles right now.
Between us and the sun, yeah. Right? No, I'm on about between the two planets that are orbiting around a center of mass. That would be in the center of the mass of our solar system, would it not? Because if the sun's orbiting around an invisible center of mass with another planet in our solar system, that would be what? The largest center of mass in the solar system. So how would that affect us orbiting around the sun?
Yeah, I don't know because I'm still unclear.
You need to
on
go
what
and
you're
type
saying.
up the newest claims from NASA, bro. Go and look. Go and have a little look. And every scientist.
Hey,
Type it in.
Matthew, can I ask a question?
Hey, the back roads. I haven't seen you here before, but yes,
Hello.
I'd be happy to answer.
Oh, I'm really on. I got a question. So, you think the Earth is a globe, right? Yeah.
I think it's roughly spherical. Yes.
Okay. So, with that theory, the theory is also that we're moving, correct?
Right.
Okay. So, if we're moving and everything else is moving too, right? Like the stars and this other solar systems and other planets and stuff like that is moving too, right?
Yeah, everything's sort of moving relative to everything else. It depends on the reference frame. It depends on how far and how fast it's moving. But yeah, that would be
that came from a singularity, by the way. All of that came from a singularity explosion.
I would say
from
from a creation event. But yeah.
Okay,
well,
so,
yeah.
How come when I, look at the sky, you know the stars, they kind of don't move a lot, and they kind of in relatively the same area for centuries.
Yeah, that's
you're
a
able to
huge
explain
cluster.
that.
It's due to the vast distances, and the stars do move a tiny bit, especially the closer ones.
So, yeah, they do move, but they eventually come back around to almost the same spot. So, like ancient cultures from like 2,000 years ago, they used the sun, Stonehenge and stuff like that. They used that star mapping thingy, and like the night sky is relatively the same on the same time of year. So if we were moving, how does everything else move with us, or are we not moving, or are we moving not that much, or does it do something to the light, the gravity? I don't know. If you could explain
Yeah,
that.
so for example, Polaris has a proper motion that is a small number of milliarc seconds per year. And the reason we don't notice it that much is because it's so far away and the change is so slight that it looks pretty similar. However, with photographic evidence, we take pictures, photographs, and compare stars against, something taken a decade earlier, and you can measure the proper motion of the closer stars.
I see. So,
did you see what I posted about how Polaris is in a different spot now than it was in 1850? It's 30 past the hour I posted.
I see.
So what you're asking is a good question. Like, how, if everything's in motion, why should everything be in exactly the same spot? And that's a good question. And my answer is it's not exactly in the same spot.
Well, it isn't, but we're moving. Like, how fast are we moving? If, let's say, pick a star. Let's see. Let's pick
I mean, the star would still be moving even if it takes a long time for the light to go in your eyes. It'll still be moving in the sky.
So, say if we pick a star that's like on this side of the Earth, and then we're spinning around the sun supposedly. How is it still on that side of the sky in that general area?
So you're talking about like 6 months later, how come you can still see some stars compared to what we see today, or how it hasn't moved? Or what do you mean?
Like how the Big Dipper is still the Big Dipper, and like how come we haven't completely lost it because we're zooming through the galaxy and other things?
Oh yeah, sure. It's relative distances and speeds, and so the heliocentric model says that the stars of the Big Dipper are so far away that even if we're moving fast in comparison to the center of the Milky Way galaxy, for example, that the relative positions of those stars barely move.
So our Earth is, moving, but we're in a 3D space, right? So I don't know how you would like label a sphere, but like sides of a cube, like left, right, top, bottom, that.
Uh-huh.
So say if the North Pole would be on the top, and so would that star. Actually, let me do a better one. Yeah. Say the west side of the western hemisphere is facing the Big Dipper, and we're spinning around. So now the Big Dipper will be on the east side of us, but we'd be on the west side. I don't know how to explain it, but you know what I'm saying. Like the Earth, it spins, so we
Polaris would move on a round Earth model anyway. So obviously, it doesn't move when you look at the naked eye. So that just proves it right there.
I see.
You're robot,
cutting out, Larry.
Was he on a spaceship?
Yes, Hank. Best.
Well, so to answer your question, astronomers keep track of stars according to some celestial map where there's a celestial North Pole, and then there's a right ascension, and then a declination. And so even it doesn't matter what time of day or night it is, they use that as sort of like a static position, and then add to it the relative rotation of the stars to the ground to locate a specific star at a specific point. But you're right. There is sort of a map that's based on a position.
So, what is this celestial North Pole?
It's generally thought of like straight north from the, straight above the North Pole. Almost Polaris is almost at that spot. It's the point in the sky that doesn't have any apparent rotation.
So, relative to the other galaxies and solar systems and stars, the
Yeah,
North
relative.
Pole
Yeah.
This
will
is no
always
apparent
be
rotation.
north. Will never like flip upside down or anything like that. Like it'll always be at the top if we're relative to everything else. The top is the North Pole, right?
Right. That's right.
So it won't move other than the slight angle that the supposedly the Earth is at, right?
Well, it stays the same. The celestial North Pole stays the same. It doesn't move.
So still pointing up, right?
Right.
Okay.
And everything appears to go counterclockwise. If you're staring at the celestial North Pole, all the stars have an apparent rotation counterclockwise throughout the night. I mean,
I see.
but if you're in
So
the southern hemisphere and you're looking at the southern celestial pole, everything has an apparent rotation of clockwise.
No, east to west.
wait, so if you're on the northern hemisphere and you see the Big Dipper, would you still see the Big Dipper on the southern hemisphere? Oh, someone's telling you to look in the live stream text, Matthew.
Oh, hold on, let me look.
Oh, so everyone see what happened with the Georgia Guidestones? People were like cheering about that. I'm like, I don't know. I think that's them sort of like, because they knocked the rest of it down, didn't they? So
Oh,
yeah.
bro, them
I don't
Guidestones.
know if it was a good thing that it happened, to be honest. It could just be them being like, right, that's it, we're fucking doing it.
Oh, you know about the Guidestones? They also use they have slits like holes, and
Oh yeah, I know. They line up with
yeah,
the Polaris.
the
Yeah.
stars and
My good
stuff like
friend
that.
went and did like a big time lapse of it and everything like that, right?
I do wonder
Like,
how the heck they predict these stars to be in that particular place at a particular time.
whoa, what do you mean?
Interesting. I mean, like at the stars for like how you look through the hole in the Georgia
Yeah,
Guidestones, how it's
they
supposed to
didn't
line
predict
up
it.
perfectly.
They didn't predict it.
They didn't
There's
predict it.
no. It's called post-diction. So it's happened
Ah,
before, right? All you would have to do is go out there.
so
Know the day of the solstice, for instance, for the slits in the middle, right? So that it looks like the sun's in the middle of that phallic symbol slash pillar, right? Yeah.
yeah,
Um, and all you'd have to effectively do is know that on this day, on the solstice, should I say, where exactly? So, like, if we look at the Earth from above, we can even do this with a flat map, right? So we have the sun orbiting around, right? I say orbit because that just means circular path, okay? And we
okay. So
and we
that
roughly
ties into
know.
my theory.
So you look like a spirograph, yeah? Okay.
Yeah.
Think about a spirograph and imagine like two lines on that spirograph, and that spirograph slowly declines. So then the sun and then the moon on their different paths or whatever, they slowly creep around, right? And then they end up going further up toward the north, right? And then
Yeah.
they all at a certain time in year,
So
okay, as we
simply
go through. That's how
speaking,
the seasons are created, right?
yes.
Obviously, they
So
say that's because of the tilt. That's what creates that hot point of the Earth's, the sun on the Earth, right? But obviously, that's just a load of bollocks. So all you have to really do is post-dict it. Like I said, you know when the sun is at this point here. You can put up a little reference, like a piece of paper, like literally the year before. You could have been there and done this. You wouldn't even have to have been around for long. You could have been there just like from a year before, and then
yeah.
put up a slit,
So
everything like that, and found out, right, okay, the sun's there at this angle. We build this. It's on the solstice. Da, da, da. It's not that hard,
so
man.
if I put everything you said in simplicity, there are points where the stars are in the same place more than once. Correct?
Yeah, it's a cycle.
Yeah. So I'm gonna ask
This
Mr.
proves it.
Matthew. Mr. Matthew, if we're spinning around the galaxy and going around, doing that, how do the stars manage to be in the same spot more than once?
Because our relative motion is so small compared to how far the stars are.
Yeah, but Matthew, wait there. Okay, so let me help you out a second. Matthew,
So
Matthew,
are you?
relative.
Please, I have to help you out a second, bro. I'm trying to help you out here. Okay, Matthew, bro, listen. Okay, let's do it properly. Are you also claiming? Because remember, I don't want to put words in your mouth. You're also claiming that came from a creation event based event. Yeah, which is probably like the idea of ripping off from the Bible that Yah spoke the earth into existence. You know, acoustic sound, the idea of we are made of dirt and ash, right? You know, so like atoms, like you would say. You know, Epicurean of you and very ancient of you also. But would you say it is a cataclysmic event where we were born of nothing but hydrogen in a Big Bang, right?
No, I think there was a special creation events all along the way.
So you don't believe in a Big Bang?
I don't believe in methodological naturalism of a naturalistic Big Bang that happened without intelligent design and without some.
Oh yeah, because you're also a Christian as well, which makes. Wow, I forgot you're a Christian
I'm
as
the
well.
opposite of him. I'm a Christian, but
That's
I
even
believe it's flat.
funnier.
Can I ask about?
That's even funnier, bro.
Can I ask about statistics?
Yeah.
Like, how statistically probable is all this like happening? Like, it seems a little statistically improbable that. Do you believe in evolution or something like that?
So you're right. I do believe that the fine tuning of the universe is one of the strongest evidences that the universe was designed by an intelligent designer, because
Of
of
course
all.
it was.
Proves that.
Yeah.
The proof is that the if you look at all of the physical constants, like the weight of an electron, the electrical charge of a proton, all these things have to be really, really finely tuned. If they're off by just a tiny little bit, then you can't even have matter. So
Oh
that
wow, who
shows
told
that
you that?
somebody.
How the fuck do you know that?
Okay, wait. So
Yeah,
Holy
how can
shit.
we verify that?
wait.
Don't
I'm
worry,
talking about
Let me
guys.
say something.
physical
Let me say something.
constants.
Wait.
No.
Let me say something. So, when you're speaking about the particles and the atoms and stuff like that, I'm sure you know about CERN,
Yes.
Hadron Collider. Oh man, I love that thing. Not really,
They
but
powered that up the other day,
yeah,
didn't they? Right after the Bohemian Grove, and then we had this thing happen with the Georgia
yeah.
Guidestones, didn't we? Like in a little nice, like a little correlationary thing, like it's
It
like, oh
means
look at that.
nothing, dude. You guys put a bunch of cables in an underground tube system and say you're fucking changing reality. Get out of here. You've got nothing. You're doing nothing. It's all
Oh
fucking
yeah,
smoke
bro.
show. Smoke show, bro. Change my mind.
Okay,
Yep.
forget about all the conspiracy
Straight.
theories for a second. Just put that aside for now. Okay, so they're using that to supposedly find.
Well, they're trying to control people with the ideas.
Okay,
Don't worry, sorry.
the information they're putting out about the Hadron Collider is that it's for physics research and particle research, and that they want to find the God particle and all the stuff about
Oh no, they said they've already found it. Higgs boson.
Right, but they want to find like more, right? Because there's like more than that or something.
Yeah, because we've got to remember they like their multiple gods because they've got that statue, the destroyer of. Is it the destroyer of Earth and the heavens? Yeah, so yeah, that's what that represents.
There's some things that don't make a lot of sense, because apart from the fact that they have a statue of Shiva on their facilities, that they want to find particles by supposedly recreating the Big Bang. Okay, so how the heck does smashing atoms together do that? I'm not.
Oh wait, then
I'm
that
taking the
helps
physics
me.
class, but I
Thank you.
have
That
no
helps
idea.
me for my next question for Matthew to get back to what the star thing in a minute, the sun thing with you. Sorry, Matthew. Answer that question, and then afterwards, just to put a pin in it, bro. We're gonna be able to go back to the last question. But
Okay, now I'm confused about which question. Who asked which?
Just
question?
answer what he just asked you, not because I didn't ask you anything extra. He basically spoke about smashing particles together, right, in the Hadron Collider. Do you want to reiterate that last part of your sentence to him? Because Matthew can.
Yeah, no, I so if you use the particle accelerator and smash things together, what they do is look at what happens, and then they use statistical models to try and guess at these subatomic particles. But I don't know much of the details beyond that.
Right.
It was an
Okay.
interesting thing.
But you believe that they're doing that, though, right, Matthew?
I don't have any reason not to.
So, like, you believe there's a genuine effect going on there, right? So you understand, obviously, that's the same thing as the Big
So
Bang,
they
acoustic
pour
sound.
billions. They pour billions of dollars into this
Yeah, they use a lot of
machine.
helium and hydrogen as well. So
Yeah,
every time they use,
don't you guys know they're looking for the Grant particle?
yeah,
Get it?
yeah, yep.
Grant particle.
That's
Mhm.
pretty funny. I like that.
What the hell is the point of this particle? Just to know more about the universe? That is pretty stupid. Like, you're spending all this money on this thingy to do what? Find a particle? Come on now. Like,
Well, listen. Right, like I've heard some really serious, like you know that scientists have recently come out and said stuff as stupid as like sound is faster than the speed of light, and then you look at the experiment they did when they did it, and it's tantamount to like pushing a pencil on the edge of a table with a sound wave, and because the pencil moved at the
dude.
tip end at the same time as the back end was touched, it's now faster than light.
Isn't
Well, of
that the
course it
Hutchinson
is.
effect?
That thing's gonna move the moment you touch it everywhere because it's a solid fucking object. It's a crystal. You know what I
Duh.
mean? So like they did this, like they literally reverberated sound for a crystal and then said the crystal moved like at the front instead of like instantly, as opposed to like, after a certain amount of time. Well,
But bro, it's just
that's so ridiculous. That
it's
doesn't
just
prove
sound
sound's
waves.
faster than light. And then I've heard scientists recently talking about there's a crystalline form apparently on literally on a quantum level that is born out of the back of light. And I'm like, oh great! So like now you've got the speed of light. Now you've got the speed of sound. When going through a crystal can keep up with the speed of light. So like what you're gonna assert soon that there's fucking time travel or some shit? Like, because that's all they really need, right? They need to be able to move light, and they already claim that we are light beings and everything is just light, right? Because what is
Yep.
light?
Photons.
Photons,
Yep.
right?
We're
So like
all
these
electromagnetic waves.
these people are insane, bro. They're literally insane. And Matthew's a Christian, and trust me, he believes half the shit these people say. Do you know what I mean?
Matthew, the Bible promotes flat Earth. You really should look into it.
You
I'm gonna
think?
be honest, bro. Apart from this Earth stuff, the stuff they're doing there, man, it seems a little suspect. You could at least say that it's not 100% what they're telling us is the truth. Like, you could agree with
Would
that,
you
right?
agree, Matthew?
As far as the super colliders go, I don't have any reason to disbelieve what they say.
Okay.
I do see what you're saying about it costing lots of money, and who knows if it's
All right. What
going
about
to
this?
actually be worth it.
What about
about
the
what?
opposite way? What about the opposite way around then? Let's talk about another collider that wouldn't cost lots of money, okay, to make. Yeah. So right. So what's that guy called? The Japanese astrophysicist or theoretical astrophysicist. What's his name?
It is Michio Kaku.
Michio Kaku. So do you also believe that Michio Kaku, when he was like what? How old was he, Hank? Wasn't he like school age or something? I believe. He managed to build a particle smasher, didn't he? Not a particle smasher. Sorry. Let me just type this up 1 second.
I don't know, man.
I remember the presentation, the thing you read. Go ahead.
Right, Michio Kaku.
I feel like the stuff they're doing there isn't 100% genuine.
Well, yeah, so you could build like smaller particle accelerators on a small scale, but the high energy ones take these huge circles, and so they can do higher and higher energy, and that's why they have the big expensive ones.
You got to think about what that does. Like, it's the size of a
Well, you
city.
can't get to
It's
them.
like under Switzerland. It's freaking massive.
Yeah,
It's basically like a giant magnetic coil. You think that's not doing anything harmful to the environment or anything? Even as little as the magnetic field being skewed a bit, it has to be doing something.
I don't know. The Earth is pretty big, so I don't think it's doing like any permanent damage to Earth's magnetic field.
Well, I guess it won't be permanent, but it won't be good, Be better if they left it alone, but they don't do that.
Yeah, and some people are saying, "Oh, what if it opens up a black hole and swallows up the Earth or something like that?" So they're like, "Well, we'll take that risk."
They will take that risk for us.
They took that risk, and they didn't tell anyone they were going to do it either. By the way, like they didn't actually get So they start. I believe they either started to ask or they asked the second time. I don't know. And but yeah, they didn't actually get confirmation to even do that, like to use it, because obviously, if you're creating a miniature Big Bang and if you genuinely believe that's what you're doing, like I don't know, like they obviously think these materials can hold a miniature Big Bang, right? Whatever that means, right? So anyway, so Michio Akoki, right? So that guy, yeah, he built an atom smasher in his garage, right? So that's actually how he got, that's how he got, I believe, his scholarship. Yeah. So he's the co-founder of the string field theory, right? You know what I'm on about?
Yeah,
Matthew?
I know. Yeah, I know who.
Yeah, so when he got to high school, right, it basically had apparently um he had like a science fair or something coming up, right? And yeah, that was it. He had a science fair coming up, right? And Mitsu basically constructed a 2.3 EV atom smasher in his garage. This particle accelerator was made of 400 pounds of scrap metal, 22 miles of copper wire. Bear in mind, he came from a very poor family, and generated a magnetic field 20,000 times greater than the Earth's. He did that at the grand old age of what, like 15 or something? Was it even less than that?
Bruh can do that.
Like, bruh, you know what I mean? This guy is just like, you know, and this is a guy who did this, yeah, and then he ends up going into guess what field? What field should this guy really go into if that's true?
Physics.
But applicable physics, right?
Quantum physics.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, he's a physicist, but he wrote string theory. What's string theory?
Something to do with strings.
Well, it's theoretical.
It's revised M theory. It's the theory of everything.
Yeah,
But it doesn't work.
it's an unproven mathematical model in an
Yeah,
attempt
but
to sort
why
of
would that guy, Matthew Learns, you have to understand the holes in this, bro, yeah? The guy who made a 22-mile copper wire atom smasher at the age of 14 or 15, who got a scholarship to become a physicist, went into theoretical physics. This is before CERN, bro.
I guess he likes physics.
He's a poor kid from Japan. They lived on really low amounts of money, and he had 22 miles of copper wire. I don't even care what gauge it was. It could be I don't listen. It could be so thin, that gauge of wire, right? You know, he had 400 pounds of scrap metal, 22 miles of wire. Do you genuinely believe that this guy did this? If you do, you are deluded.
I mean, I've always wanted to do something like that, but even though I'm not poor, I couldn't
A
even
particle
find the
smasher.
amount of money to do that.
What's a particle smasher? What is a particle smasher?
You take a particle and you smash
How do
it
you
into another particle.
how do you isolate a particle? So we're talking about atoms, right? Atoms. When were they first or conceived of as an idea?
I think they could be electrons too. They don't have to be a whole atom.
Okay, well, if I take
Well, whatever.
a
But
piece of sand, no, actually, a piece of mercury, and then
right.
another piece of mercury, and I put that
Mm,
in a tube, and I put
mm,
magnets around it, and then it'll
right.
accelerate it, and then it'll smash into it, and then
No.
that'll be a thing smasher, but it's not an atom smasher because you're not
Yeah.
smashing individual atoms.
That's my point. How are you isolating a single atom? Bear in mind, atoms. Can you show me a picture of an atom, please, Matthew? Post it in live stream, please.
The picture would just be a diagram. So
Well, yeah, it'd be a diagram, right? Because like we can't see atoms, correct?
Not even microscopes can see atoms because they're made
But
up
we
of
see apparently the remnants, right? The remnants of atoms that have been smashed into billions of pieces. Yeah,
Well, you would just sense the
we can
energy.
see that though.
Wait, hold on. Wouldn't an
Wait,
atom smash to create a nuclear bomb?
well, this is the point, bro. Listen.
Besides the point.
Right, so a nuclear bomb, depending on what type of nuclear bomb, a hydrogen bomb works upon the theory that it effectively removes a lot of air that's inside of the atmosphere to the point where there's a higher concentration of hydrogen, which is a chain reaction of an explosion that then ignites the hydrogen. And so it does that by using high explosives first to split an atom. But again, how do we isolate the atoms and then smash them together, the ones that we've got diagrams of, any atom, how do we do that then smash them together into lots of little pieces and then go, oh yeah, guess what? Right there. Boom. Those atoms right there. We smashed them to pieces. But we now have found the Higgs boson. So you can't isolate an atom and show me what it is, but you know what smashed up atoms are. Listen to how stupid this is. And also, a kid did this, and he's 15 with 22 miles of copper. I don't know any kid in the world that could get 22 miles of copper wire. Literally, I'm talking about Will Smith's son probably couldn't afford that at this moment in time. Oh, copper was cheaper back then. Don't give me that. You know what I'm saying? Copper's always been useful.
Do they claim it still exists somewhere? Do they tear it all down?
No,
and recycle it?
no, it's gone. No one knows where that is. No, they gave him a scholarship for it, but they didn't save it, Orion. You know? Come on, Matthew, you've got to hear this. This is like the most stupid shit you've heard.
I hear this. I haven't heard. I don't know anything about his background or his history. I hadn't heard anything about that scholarship.
He got a Nobel Peace Prize. In a way, they got a Nobel Prize, so not peace. He got what was he got for it? Wait there. Let me see what he got for it. That was from APS Physics, by the way, when I was reading a minute ago, Matthew Lance. So and like it's not like this isn't like controversial. What I'm saying, this is like well-known stuff inside of his background, right? Right.
Yeah, it's either really fishy or a story of the worst wasted potential ever. Because he could be building so many wonderful mechanical things, but instead he's a theoretical physicist.
It makes no sense. Have you not noticed that this is like a pattern, right? So the pattern is this, and it goes as follows, yeah? So we have Michio Kaku apparently doing this when he was 15. What CERN did with all this money, yeah? 22 miles, by the way. How big's a Hydro Collider in Switzerland? How many miles is it?
A lot.
How many? Look it up.
I don't know.
Look it up.
Is it 22? Or am I remembering that wrong?
His was 22.
Oh, his was 22.
Yeah. Michio Kaku's is 22 miles. Okay. So, Hydro Collider, yeah? Hydro Collider, its length is 27 kilometers. So it's basically 23 again. The number 23 is a bit of a weird number anyway, let's just face it, guys, numerology speaking anyway. So, like, we're supposed to believe that this kid did what CERN did at 15 and created a magnetic field 10,000 times the size of the Earth. They say the magnetic field of the Earth is detectable on some of the most distant planets. So, like, basically, like, we could be speaking to aliens by now if we just kept that thing running, right? According to them. Guess what, Michio Kaku, that's all he ever talks about, isn't it? It's like contacting aliens and stuff. Why aren't you carrying on building devices that you can use to communicate with these aliens? Who knows? What do you think, Matthew? Because like these are
told a
claims
bunch of stories about Michio Kaku and his history and growing up, but I don't know anything about that to be able to agree or disagree with any of that.
Why do you? But you agree that you can smash particles in a hydro collider, and you think that CERN are doing it, and I've just told you that a 15-year-old did it too,
Right.
and I'm not lying to you.
Right.
I don't say lies when I'm on here because I'm being recorded, right? You know, if I wasn't on here, I would lie all day. I'm joking, obviously. The point is, you have to have some serious cognitive dissonance because you want to believe the possibility that someone can isolate something that we can only paste up onto a screen and emulate into a model that for some reason also looks like the globe model itself in the solar system, right? A heliocentric model, right? With your quarks, your quasars, and your lots of spherical balls rotating
I never
around
thought of
bigger
that.
spherical balls, if you look at atoms on a conceptualized basis. So, like, again, we have the same thing there, right? We have a miniature version of the solar system claimed in the atom itself that we can't even see. And then we're supposed to believe you smash them things to pieces, and then you gained any data from that once you did so, when you can't isolate it in the first place to even show us an image of it, right? And
So,
who's
so
gonna?
you're
Fair point.
so you're so against the idea of a spherical Earth that particle physics you reject because it has spherical looking things?
Did I just say that?
It sounded like you were complaining that particle
Whoa.
physics had spheres in it.
Tell me what particle physics has achieved. Go ahead.
Like quantum computing,
Quantum computing.
lasers,
Okay, what's that got? Wait
materials.
there. Tell me the correlation between smashing particles in a hydro collider at that. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I
To that.
guess.
To
So
that. Tell
I
me
don't
how it
know that.
developed into that, Matthew. Because you just claimed all of those things were a byproduct of that. How did it get to that then? From that, you better know because you just fucking said that. So I get annoyed with you people. You chat shit all day, every day. It's what you do.
Okay, I feel like there are 3 or 4 topics you brought up, and I'm confused what you're asking.
Yeah, you're confused now because you just said a big boo-boo lie again.
No, I didn't.
You did. Come on, mate. You just basically claimed that particle physics caused quantum computing. What else was it?
It would just be guessing because I don't know.
So you guessed a positive answer that you just gave in a positive claim. Thank you. Liar. Bye-bye.
Oh, got it. You're kicking me out. All right. I'll see
No,
you
I'm not
guys later.
kicking you out. No, I'm saying like bye-bye. Like I would never kick you out, Matthew. What? Why would I kick him out?
Why the fuck would you kick him out? You don't need to kick Matthew out of here. Oh,
I didn't kick him out. I
He
didn't.
just left.
He left, mate.
He left.
I'm saying like bye-bye, like
What
as in
the
bye
fuck?
to the like globe.
Fuck, come, Matthew, get your ass back in here. No.
He should know I would never kick him out.
Flat Earth,
Actually,
dude.
he at least
Flat Earth, dude.
engages and is respectful, man. You know what I mean? Like I never would kick Matthew out.
I like him. I like him better than some of the flat earthers in here.
Yeah, same. But I don't.
He's
When
very
he,
nice.
he lies like
He's a
that,
nice guy.
though, when he lies like that with a nice, like, sort of smirk to his face, like that's a bold lie. That was. He
I
claimed
don't
something
know.
he knew nothing about. Bro, listen to what I said.
Ray, how's it going?
So tell me how particle physics, yeah, went to what, right? Because I said, okay, what does smashing atoms in a hydro collider give us? And he said, well, particle physics have given us this, this, and this. I said, okay, tell me how it did that. That's a positive claim, right? Couldn't tell me. And he said
I don't know,
I'd have
man.
to be guessing. Rewind it back. Glat, Flo, please tell me you're there. Listening.
Yeah, bro, but I'm eating pizza. But what's up?
What's up, bro? What's up, bro? What's
You
up?
gotta remember, you might not know me because I've been away for about 6 months, by the way.
Crack
But,
villain.
I'm a moderator in this place, and like, I don't lie. I don't make shit up. I know what I'm talking about. This is being recorded.
Hi.
Hey, on the topic of quantum computers, so I think I heard Dr. Michio Kaku describe years ago, what they managed to make with one of these quantum processors. He said that they made it out of 6 atoms and that they made it so it could do one simple thing. You could input the information 3 times 5, and you could have it output 15, reliably, as long as it held together. And I was just wondering, and they said that they managed to make a processor that could do that, but it was just made out of 6 atoms, but it was barely stable and barely functional. And are you saying that's like more than likely just kind of a story they made up, like they didn't actually make that processor, or do you think they actually made that processor? What would your guess be?
Bro, 6 atoms, come on now.
Well, what 6 atoms did they do? Did they use? Like what?
No, they just said they had to put it in an environment that isn't shaken about, because they said at the very moment that you're trying to make one of these things, if the container it's in moves very much, then the processor itself just breaks.
They can't even take a photo or look at an atom with a microscope.
Exactly. Yeah,
so
yeah.
How are they engineering shit out of atoms? It makes no sense.
A really good microscope.
That's the micro to the macro. Micro to the macro. Right?
Hey, I'm just gonna say, Backroads, you really should turn up, because people are just gonna keep talking as if you're not there, because it's just so quiet and it's just like white noise in the background.
But I have a mic volume on max, so I don't know how to make it louder. But,
okay. Well.
All right. Hey, Bax, man. Welcome to the server, man. How you doing?
Yeah, Backroads, nice to meet you, by the way.
Hey,
I really like your input so far.
You remember me? Flat Earth dude.
Backroads?
Yeah, I was here like a week ago.
I could have been here.
Flat Earth dude. Nice to see you, by the way, as well. Wow, I just realized it was you.
Dude, Crack. Crack and I go back, man. Crack and I go back.
Bro. I just realized
Crack villain, what's up, dude?
Hello, Hank. Your name's Larry. What's going on, man?
I want to apologize if I was totally out of whack earlier. The thing is that, like, not that long ago, I thought I was talking to an AI in Cognis, and I don't know if anybody was there, but I eventually dismissed it and thought that I just had the pareidolia. So I'm kind of extra vigilant on the AIs now. So I probably had a bias today. So I apologize if I was completely wrong and that was a voice changer. And just remember, I'm only using $70. I'm only using $70 earbuds.
There's AI here in this server. Like, I found one in the debate lobby the other day too. Yeah,
really?
it was just a total bot. Like, I was asking it questions, and it just gave me scripted answers, vague answers. Like, it just could not go beyond this little script that it had. So, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, see what I mean? Why would they have to attack us with AI, guys? Come on, think
That's
about
fucked up, man.
That's some seriously messed up.
That's fucked up, man. I hate that shit.
Oh,
I
wow.
don't go up against AIs, man. That's why I love VC, bro. VC rules.
That was in VC, I think.
There ain't no AIs in VC, by the way.
Well,
If you are, man.
No, Flat Earth dude, that's what we're saying. We
That's
think there
what we're
was
saying.
one earlier.
This isn't, yeah.
None, right here, not in the chat, but not in the fucking. We couldn't hear their voice, right?
No, it was like robotic. It was a pretty good imitation, but we're asking them like specific questions. They're like, "Oh, I don't know about that. I can't answer that." It's like, is that Horizon before or after that oil rig? It's like, I can't answer. I don't want to look stupid.
Get the fuck. Man.
Listen to that part. Helio fed her the answer, right? And when he did, then he answered it correctly, right?
Yeah.
And I picked up on that live, and I did point it out. So I was trying to be like, both sides of the coin, just so you know.
I wasn't here for that. I don't believe, Hank, was I?
Me either. I wasn't here for that either, man.
And then every time it's like, well, we're just going to kick you. We're just going to mute you or something like that if you won't just get on your iPhone and show us your real voice. And they're like, oh, well, that's just your opinion. And I'm okay with that because I'm that kind of person. It's like, okay, Siri.
Can someone please message Matthew Learns and say Crack was never talking about
dude, it's like late here for him. He's probably gone to bed. I'm gonna let's leave it.
Oh, I just meant like when I said bye bye, I meant like bye bye, like to like you're done.
To the argument. To the argument.
No, like not him.
Not to him personally. Exactly.
Yeah, I love that guy. I think he's great. He's a Christian as well. He's my brother, man. Like,
we love Matthew, man. I mean, as incredibly as it sounds, man, I'm on the fence with the fact that he's actually here to just give the Glober arguments to us.
I
flat-
think he is the best flat earther I've met in a while, right?
Exactly, right?
Right? So like, I've got no problem with that
It's
dude.
crazy,
I would
man.
never boot him out
I
ever.
hope I'm
Like,
right, man. I hope I'm right. Fuck
like,
yeah.
of course, bro. Like, because listen, someone was arguing with Helio the other day, yeah, being like, "What? You can't keep him in here and all this stuff." And I'm thinking, what are you talking about? Can't keep him in here. Who are you to tell us what we do here? For one, you didn't build this server.
Exactly.
Like, how long have you been here for? For one, like, legit. And for two, like, he's like brand new guy or whatever. He's like, yeah, but he lies outright. And I'm like, that's brilliant. Good. Good. Because he's got a lot of followers on his YouTube, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And yeah, people listen to that guy. And
Yep.
we get enough clips of him saying things like what he said a minute ago, where he basically claimed particle physics have given us this, this, and this. And I go, okay, cool. So tell me just tell me the story in chronological order of how they did that then, and how it led to those things from particles being smashed all the way to the let's say the copious amounts of research and data collected in order for them to even start to define an idea that could be used
Yeah.
using those things, and then tell me exactly where it ends up, and like show me those products you just claimed they made. And then he was like, well, I'd just have to be guessing. Whoa, I just said, do you believe in particles being smashed and that, right? Yeah, I believe in that. Cool. It gave us this. That's a positive claim. Now you've got to back it up with at least a storyline. Can't then say you're guessing. That's why I said, all right, bye-bye.
Yeah, you have a point of reference, and you say, yeah, bye-bye. You took it the wrong way, and
Yeah.
he'll be
I
back.
think he didn't want to be dealing with me as well, I'll be honest.
He'll be back. And
Yeah, because like he would have looked up the other thing that I said to him as well. I'm like, how are we orbiting around the sun, right? When current science is claiming that we're actually orbiting around. I think it's is it Jupiter? Jupiter, the other biggest planet, or is it Saturn?
Supposed to be bigger than other planets combined.
Right. So yeah.
Jupiter.
So how, Hank? Hank. You could answer this one better with the Glober answer than Matthew. Matthew didn't even know this existed. So, how are we ever going to be revolving around the sun in the solar system when they claim the sun itself revolves around an invisible center of mass created between the two biggest masses in the solar system, that and Jupiter? Because that's what they say now.
Yeah, that's the three-party problem, or the two-body problem, something like three-body problem. Thanks.
Three body problem. The three bodies, man.
Yeah, but no one ever says it in that way, though, do they? Like the claim of
sound better.
Say the sun is orbiting, because three-body problem, that's quite vague, isn't it? And I hear it quite a lot. But like when you actually work out, like, okay, so we revolve around the sun apparently. Okay, that's cool. But the sun's also revolving around nothing, and then so is Jupiter. They're both orbiting around this so-called nothing in the center of them. It's an invisible mass, meaning there is no mass there. It's just that the gravitas, or the gravity created by both planets, is of an equipotent range. So they orbit around a center of mass that doesn't actually exist. Okay? So, like, how are we revolving around the sun again? And how does that affect that? Matthew thought, I've never even heard of what you're talking about. So I don't know.
Hey,
I never meant that I was going to kick you out, Matthew. I would never, ever kick you out, bro. Ever.
Never, dude, Matthew.
Okay.
Never.
I apologize
Never.
for running away.
No,
I went
bro,
back
I
and
would.
listened. Yeah, you totally weren't saying
No,
that.
yeah.
So,
I literally meant like bye to that, like that part, like the argument.
totally
And
makes sense. I
and
apologize.
it makes sense you think that as well, that I would maybe kick you because like, I haven't been here in like literally 6 months.
Yeah, there are certain mods that I'm like gun shy about.
Oh,
Because
okay.
I've been banned a couple times, and so sorry.
Yeah, no, I'm one of the people that would fight to keep you here.
Hey, Crack.
Over. I literally ask anyone what I just said a second ago.
Crack. Could you please ban Matthew forever? Thank you.
Yeah, like
Thanks,
no,
brother.
dude. I think you're someone that needs to be in here, and I'm happy you're here. And even though I get maybe a little bit irate and stuff like that with you, it's just because I'm passionate a little bit about it. But as a dude, I love you, bro. Like, I think you're brilliant.
Listen,
Oh,
Crack.
thank you. Likewise. No, we
I
were
like
having a
Matthew.
good
He's a
discussion.
nice
I
guy.
feel like I ran away.
Hey, Crack,
I
man.
apologize.
Listen, man. Last week, Matthew and Witsit did like
Live stream. I know.
5
got told.
hours. They
I got told.
it was like stupid, ridiculous long.
Yeah.
It might have been 3 hours. It was
I
long
gotta watch
time,
it.
man. You guys were both worn out by the end of it, man.
Yeah, it was kind of long. I don't think it was 5 hours, but maybe 2.5 or 3. It could be.
Yeah, it might have been close to 3. It was
Probably almost felt like an orgy or something in some ways, but like of the mind.
It was
You know?
the physicist from hell showed up. It was epic, man.
Yeah,
fuck.
Witsit had a huge number of quotes from
Yes.
physicists about the problems with current cosmology. It was really
Oh
interesting.
yeah. Oh yeah, current cosmology's got a lot of
I'm
problems.
still thinking about it, man. That
And you get to like the axis of evil, like that's why I wanted to ask you about a singularity Big Bang explosion, bro. Like that's like what crepuscular fashion and the idea of the expansion of the universe from a singularity. And you say a multi-chain event, and then you're like, but you believe in what they do in the Hadron Collider. That's what I wanted to go back to, a particle smashing, right? It's like, well, so are you saying that there are multiple events of that then? Yeah.
Particle smashing sounds hot.
Yeah, so in general, the particle smashing and high level physics and particle physics, I think they're just sort of studying the fundamental structures of atoms. But as far as practical inventions, I'm guessing that there are a few things that have to do with quantum mechanics. But I don't know.
Yeah.
You know, you can't drive your car faster because of what they figured
We know,
out.
we know that the quantum arrays are like, you know, experiment and all of that sort of stuff, right? We know exactly how like, you know, photons of light, you know, react when you try and trace what they're doing. They change their mind almost, right? You know.
Yeah, it's so bizarre.
So, but I don't believe it's bizarre at all. It's something that you're not meant to understand. So thus, Yar's like, no.
Good
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
But
I don't know if I buy the quantum mechanical stuff. First of all, I don't understand it enough to like speak intelligently about it. But just all the weird contradictions that come up with it, I'm like, well, I wonder if there's something different fundamentally going on.
oh yeah, fundamentally, there's something different going on. 100%. Like quantum mechanics, however, as a field, if you're gonna like, people can try and attribute particle physics to it. There's a difference, though, isn't there? Like when you literally are using something that is quantifiable in the sense that we can see it, for instance, right? Yeah. It's different versus when, you know, like obviously, like with Whitson's degrees of QE on the quantum eraser thing because of that very reason, Matthew. So I believe that anyway. Like, but yeah, but what I was trying to get at back to was the cataclysmic event, the multiple creationary events. Sorry, not cataclysmic. Multiple creationary events that occurred. In what form did they take place? Like, are you saying that those were micro big bangs that happened everywhere? Like, what are you sort of alluding to when you say that, bro?
So the basic answer is I don't know, but somehow God's word is powerful enough to create matter. So there's something strong enough, and I think that word and thought and matter and energy are all mixed up in weird ways that we don't really understand.
Like you could say God, for instance, like Black Flow say, no, there could be a different reason for it, but like it could have the same exact methodology behind it, right? For instance, yeah, like because like God sometimes is a cop out. That's why we don't really like using the argument of God here, right? But like I think with the Hydra Collider, I feel like they took the God part anyway, didn't they? They go, okay, right, so we've got what, what we have here is acoustic sound, right? It goes all the way back to that Jesuit priest when he came up with the Big Bang Theory, right? He didn't have any atoms to look at, anything of any sort like that. And as well, remember the idea of the atom itself comes all the way from Demosithenes and Epicurus, Epicurean times, right? Like Demosithenes, Epicurus, like they said, like everything is divisible into smaller parts forever, right? I could cut up a table in half over and over and over again, and it would just keep going forever and ever. Obviously, that's completely false, and it can't be done. In my opinion, because we only have conceptual, we only have conceptual images of atoms, so we don't have any physical proof of that. But like, that's such an old idea that, like, why is it that like someone's crazy for believing in, let's say, something to do with Tesla, and they're like, oh no, Tesla's like nuts or whatever, right? And you know, Volta and everything like that as well. Like even some of the stuff Volta did, people dispute in some ways, right? And I'm like, wait a minute, like these guys figured out how to make batteries, like by dissecting like electrical eels and shit, and it works still to this day. But like the concepts, however, behind the idea of like what's causing it on the inside in terms of like protons, neutrons, and i.e. their structure therein, and making a claim about the structure and how it's formulated, that's going off into the weeds, and that's going off way into conjecture at best. It's just that sometimes you put certain things together, it works. We know it works because the eel electrocuted you. So then we copy what the eel has in its stomach, right? It's that simple. We test the volts in the water, we test this, we test that, we test this, and eventually we test the chemical composition inside of the eel. We recreate that chemical composition, and it works, right? It's just that people want to go further and further down into the finite detail of something because they want them grants, as Orion said.
We want the grants. We want the grants. We want the grants.
Yeah, I like that whoever said it, that they're looking for the Grant particle.
Yeah, man. That was good. Yeah, like I said, like the problem is with